just like to address a very sensitive, controversial and contentious subject. Prime Ali versus Tyson Luke Terminator 10-year reign Fury. Now don't get me wrong, Ali was great and it was a great era. Fights were made. And like Tyson, Ali was a natural entertainer. However, there is no problem which Ali would very capably present that Tyson Fury would not be capable of solving.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 272nd edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining me so far this evening we have Ozzy Smith, Gabe Lewis, Andy Patterson and Dave the Hater Lowback, friend of the show, listener. I know he'll be listening in his black cab. Twitter Stig, there you are, there's one for you. Ali and Tyson Fury. Not too sure about that one, Stig. We've got you at the top of the show. Congratulations. Keep listening, everybody. We've got a couple of guests hopefully coming on at some point. We've also got the Bellew the Weeks. We'll be looking ahead next week to Bellew-HAYE, the rematch that nobody wanted. The contrived bullshit carries on. Also, Triple G's fighting against Vanis Martirossi and another fight nobody wanted. What can you do? And we're going to be looking at Bradley Skeets' defeat over the weekend, a bit of Diego Magdaleno. Me and Andy getting the Dogboe love in there last week. He did us proud. But we'll start off in the Barclays Centre, Brooklyn, New York. Danny Jacobs against Maciej Sileski. Scores of 117, 110, 115, 112 and 116, 11 in Jacobs' favour. Pretty routine stuff, Andy. Fair play to Sileski. I'm taking wins over this weekend. I thought he would give Jacobs a good fight, and so it proved. Good scrapper he was, good jab, a lot of strength. He got hurt in the last round, I think it was, and put down pretty badly, but he managed to get up and shake it off. This is a good fight for Jacobs. If he's going to go on to fight a big one next, which we all expect he will, he has to get past these guys. And I'm going to give Eddie credit. I think this was the perfect matchup in anticipation of a bigger fight.
I actually thought he might have stopped him. Maybe I was giving Sileski no enough credit. He certainly looked a lot healthier at that weight anyway, so maybe he was kind of buoyed by the fact that he's not having to cut the extra poundage. So maybe that's what, gave Jacobs problems at times. But as you say, he kind of got on a jab, and that was kind of repetitive. But I thought Sileski was landing quite regular right hands, and that during the first 10 rounds. It just didn't seem to kind of really have the power, did he? He got a good chin and all, so got to give Sileski a lot of props. Didn't really score it actually, because I was kind of like halfway sleeping during it as well, so I didn't really kind of watch it back though. But I did think that in the end of the day that Jacobs was a worthy winner.
Worthy winner, says Andy. What did you think, Ozzy? Eddie's talking about Charlo next. I know this is a big claim and that a lot of people are probably going to give me a bit of grief about this, but I think Charlo is ready to take over the middleweight division. I include Golovkin in that as well. I really do rate the Charlos. Not so much outside of the ring. They are a couple of turds, but, just inside the ring, I'm liking what they're bringing, the power, the skill, the speed. I think if Charlo fought Golovkin, it'd give him one hell of a fight. In fact, I would go out on a limb, Ozzy, and say that he would probably beat Golovkin. I know that's controversial and people aren't going to like it, but more to the point, if Charlo were to fight Jacobs, I only see one winner. Ozzy, what do you think?
I agree. I think Charlo will beat Jacobs. I thought I thought he was pretty decent last night, to be fair. It was a very good fight. He was determined. I thought a couple of the cards were fair. I thought I scored it. I think it had like 115, 112. I can't remember if one of the judges had it like that. But at one point, I had it relatively even around the midway point, and he was definitely in it. And I think he exposed is probably the wrong word, but he showed like different ways that he can potentially get at Jacobs and stuff like that. I'm not always sold on Danny Jacobs, to be honest. I think, like I said, Hearn said that he's like, I know it's hype and promoters hype, but he's the best middleweight in the world. He's clearly not that, but he's going to be in entertaining fights. It's a big statement to call out one of the Charlo brothers next, because in reality, I think Jacobs can only go. I think we can rule out Golovkin and Canelo because they're obviously tied up for the foreseeable. I can't see the Saunders fight happening. I don't think Billy Joe will take that. I think Saunders will sit on that belt until he can get the winner of Canelo or Golovkin, which in reality, who else does that leave? And I think the Charlo fight is is there. There was talk that Hearn is interested in signing them ahead of this huge, I think it's a streaming deal that he's got set to announce in America. So it could be one of those that's made relatively quickly and relatively straightforward. So it's going to be an interesting one. It's one I'd be looking forward to, I think I've fair to say. But no, I thought it was a solid performance from Danny Jacobs. But all credit to Sileski, who I think he can definitely cause a lot of problems at 160. And I think Jacobs is now ready for the bigger fights in the division.
Gabe, we've seen Sileski obviously moving up and down the weights. He's fought as high as super middleweight. He seems a natural middleweight, quite a big guy. He beat Centeno down at light middle. Don't anticipate him going back down there again because he's made a home at middleweight. He's put himself on the map, so to speak. Would you be interested in seeing the Polish fighter again after his display, Gabe, last night?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the interesting things that he did was that he was landing punches. If you go back and you see the fight on HBO, I'm not sure who broadcasted over yonder, but
Sky
I think
Sports.
Was it Sky? I thought that's who it was, but I couldn't recall for sure. It was like they did the same thing they always do. They typically praise the guy that's supposed to win or the guy that they have an agenda laid out for, which is obviously Danny Jacobs. But it was relatively a close fight. I think. Who was it? Scored 115, 112, maybe. I don't know. I
think it was Steve Weisfeld. Gabe. I think it was Weisfeld who scored that.
So, I mean, I really didn't have that big of an issue with that score. I don't think it was quite that close, but I don't have an issue with it. I think that, when you listen to, the HBO crew, as usual, blow things out of proportion and make it sound like one guy's landing all the punches and the other guy's landing nothing, then it does skew your view of the fight, and sometimes that does happen. But I thought it was a relatively close fight. I mean, I thought it was a good fight. Jacobs just has a good chin. There was some punches that I thought, if that was anybody else that threw that punch, the middleweight, it probably would have wobbled him. I don't think that was necessarily a product of bad boxing from Jacobs. I think he could see what was coming, and I don't think he was really intimidated by the power of Sileski. So I think that was a big part of it. But yeah, absolutely. I thought he put on a great show. I mean, I thought he did what he could. I thought he boxed well. He got hit a little bit too often, and that's really what did him in. I mean, besides the lack of power, if he had more power, I think he would have wobbled Jacobs a few times and had a chance. But the lack of power really showed, and Danny Jacobs didn't really have to worry about it too much. So, I mean, fair play. I think it was a good show.
If we're being picky, Dave, possibly Jacobs could have used the jab at times. He did have a few dodgy rounds, in the middle type of rounds, but he was in against a guy who's never lost, 26-0. I don't think he'd been put down until the last round as well. So this is no mug. He was doing what he could do, and he wanted to excite the fans. He did try and get him out of there at the end, throwing some real wild shots. Just looking on the negative side of things, anything that Jacobs should have done differently? Any problems going forward? I mean, he's only 31. He's still got plenty left in the tank, Dave, wouldn't you say?
Well, I just skimmed the fight, so I can't really analyze it properly. I'll just say it's a good win for Jacobs because Sileski was undefeated, had fought some reasonable competition coming up, and proved he belonged to be in there by making it a competitive fight. The fact that he didn't hurt Jacobs, I mean, Golovkin didn't really hurt him either, and Golovkin we know has big power. I think Jacobs' chinniness may be a little overstated. And I think he's a top 3 middleweight. Actually, I think he beat Golovkin actually, but it was a close fight. Obviously, I could see how you could argue either way. I just scored it twice, and I had it for Jacobs by a point both times, 7-5, plus the knockdown. So I think Jacobs is definitely a top middleweight, and I wouldn't pick Charlo to beat him at this stage. Charlo is not proven at middleweight yet, and he appeared to be quite hittable against Austin Trout, and you could argue his size was a significant factor in him winning that fight. I don't think he'll have necessarily that advantage going against Danny Jacobs.
Donnie, just welcome to you. Good to have you on. We're looking at the middleweight rankings here. Jacobs is sort of top 3 in all of them, so he could have his pick. Realistically speaking, though, Eddie's going to put him in maybe against a Charlo. We were talking about that before you came on air. Gabe's disappeared. He's had enough. Tell me about the chinniness factor that Dave mentioned, Donnie. He was obviously bombed out by Pirog. There was extenuating circumstances for that one, though. He's been dropped by Mora since. Any other drop-ins that I'm forgetting about? Is Jacobs' chin better than maybe some people think? Do we always hold it against a fighter that they're chinny, even when they might not be?
Well, Roberto Duran got knocked out by Thomas Hearns, but he's with a one-punch knockout. I mean, that was a brutal shot. But I mean, the point is that, you know, just because somebody's been knocked out before doesn't mean they're chinny. And I think that's one of the biggest fallacies in boxing today is that anytime somebody's been flattened by another fighter, we automatically assume they're chinny. And I don't think that's the case for Jacobs. I thought he put in a good performance last night, and he obviously stood in there for 12 rounds with Gennady Golovkin. So, I mean, how the hell are you going to say this guy's chinny? I mean, he's a damn good fighter. And for a while, middleweight was kind of barren territory, but you know, now you got Charlo, you got Saunders, you have Jacobs, you have Golovkin, you have Canelo. Middleweight right now is actually probably better than it's ever been, and Jacobs is holding his own in a very, what I think right now, in the status quo right now, I think that's a stacked division, and he just has to wait for his chance now. He's going to get stuck. Yes, he's the mandatory to Golovkin, but he's going to have to wait for the Golovkin-Canelo rematch in September. But right after that, he's going to get the winner of that fight, and as well he should. He's proven his ability. He's proven that he belongs at the very top of that division, and that's exactly where he should be.
If Charlo were to fight Jacobs, then Donnie, who wins?
I'm going to go with Jacobs. I think that he's criminally underrated. He has good boxing ability. He has good movement, and you know, it's actually hard to say sometimes. I mean, Charlo really hasn't done that much of the division to. That's a really tough question. If Jacobs fought Charlo, I think it's going to be a kind of Vladimir Klitschko type situation where both of them are going to circle each other and not really fight each other because they both want to get the payday of fighting Golovkin, and the risk of fighting each other for the right to face Golovkin is too great, and so they're probably just going to fight other people until they can just get the payday. But yeah, I mean, that's a really tough question as to which one of them is better. That's a real pick'em fight, and I don't know if I can pick them.
2 more, Donnie. Just give me a name. Jacobs Golovkin rematch. Who wins?
When?
Early next year.
Still Golovkin. I mean,
Jacobs Dovachenko.
Jacobs.
Thanks, Donnie. We'll come back to you very shortly. Gabe, tell me about the heavyweights. I was groaning, I must admit, when I saw this big lump Jarrell Miller coming into the ring against Johan de Happus. No interest in de Happus whatsoever. He's a walking, just about conscious punch bag, in my opinion. But it actually turned out to be quite a fun fight. I think it's about this Miller. He's an accumulative hitter, isn't he, Gabe? I think he's not a big one-punch knockout artist. He just tends to slap and pop and hit arm punches a lot of the time. But he got the job done. Is he a legitimate threat to the title holders, Jarrell Miller, Gabe?
No, and it's because of his lack of power. And I think his size is going to prevent him from being able to move well. I think that's one of the best points that you could make about Wilder in terms of a fight with those two. And I think even Joshua, if he worked on it for a camp, could present some good problems for him just by moving. And then, of course, both those guys have power, and they're not going to really be intimidated by Miller's lack of power. So, I mean, fun fight. I think Miller's always going to be competitive, and he'll be, we'll look back at him. And we'll probably consider his career when it's over as him being one of those guys that was a competitor for a while, a solid gatekeeper. But I just don't see him being a threat to anybody, really, just because of his lack of power, or as we see it, a lack of power. You know, we haven't really, in my estimation, seen him in a fight where he needs to sit down on his punches in a way that he's being pressured to do so. So maybe there's a little bit more hiding in there, but it seems like he likes to fight more as a pressure, or as an output fighter. So I think it was a decent show. I mean, he's got quick hands. He's those some fun combinations. I mean, there's nothing when you watch the guy that, you know, is, to me, you know, unentertaining. So I think he'll be entertaining, you know, but I don't think he's gonna make it against those other guys. Just because, like I said, the lack of power.
Hoppers has a fucking granite chin, though. I mean, that guy went almost 12 rounds with Deontay Wilder, who, you know, I mean, it took a lot for Wilder to stop him. I mean, Duhaupas he's a tough customer, and if like any heavyweight you have that's like coming up, that like you want to prove that he can get the rounds in. And last night, that's what Jarrell Miller needed to do. He needed to prove that he could go the 12 rounds because he hadn't actually done that before. And I mean, I think that was the perfect opponent for him in terms of proving that he could go the 12 rounds.
Andy, I'll go on about this before. I know I've mentioned it. I don't want to end up in a black hole, but Sky's policy of, you know, just commentating for every second of the round really is pissing me off now, and I have to just turn the sound off. But Adam Smith, for about the first 3 or 4 rounds, I was listening to it, and he's the king of the product placement, isn't he? He's definitely pushing towards Miller. The amount of times he said to Macklin, "We wouldn't mind seeing this guy in with Joshua, would we?" You know, he's placing the product all the time. Miller against Joshua, is it nailed on? Maybe for Povetkin's in the frame, but they are pushing this guy for a reason, aren't they?
He's Team Matchroom, isn't he? Smith's really got a self-contained flat up Eddie Hearn's arse. It's
a monopoly, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, it's a Sky monopoly, and Matchroom is the only the only promotional outfit that's on there.
Said it after the last Joshua fight. You know, everybody's getting paid, everybody's happy. You know, it's when everybody doesn't start getting their money, that's when people start getting pissed off. But I'm going to be honest, I didn't even watch the fight. I've got no interest in a guy who's coming in at 300 and what is it, four pounds. I mean, Christ, man, okay, he might be an athlete of some sort, but 300 pounds, and his trainer's kicking up fuck. So he's had enough of him, and he's fed up trying to break into him. You know, lose a bit of weight. I've no interest in that guy. Duhaupas wasn't even relevant. You know. As I said last week to you, there's only a handful of fights. The heavyweight division's shit, and to have a guy like Big Baby Miller actually in the mix for a world title fight is absolutely, it's insane. That's just, again, indicative as to how shit the division is at the minute. There's only, what says last week again, there's only one fight in the heavyweight division at this precise moment needs to be made, and that's Joshua Wilder. There's no other fight. I says 2-3 months of worth of talks and that. I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to happen. A lot of shit talking getting said, contracts not getting handed out for whatever reasons. People just, you know, they're obviously kind of. I really don't know what they're doing. You know, for all I know is that the fight could be made, it could be signed, and this is them just kind of like, you know, really building interest or whatever. But if that's the way they're going to play it, then so be it. You know, as long as we get the fight next, I'm not really giving a shit. Fury, we need him back in the ring. Need him maybe 1-2 fights, and then maybe make a tilt at Joshua Wilder winner early next year or whatever. But I've got absolutely zero interest in the heavyweight division at the minute. It's absolute shit.
Just moving down the weights slightly, quick Prince Patel update. The vacant World Boxing Organisation European bantamweight title is his. He won it in Hungary last night against Michiko Shubatidze. You all must have forgot Patel's 13-0-1 now. He hasn't actually lost a fight. Just before we move on to Spain, hey to Dave Lowback, quick word on Miller, where he fits into the heavyweight picture. I actually wouldn't mind seeing Miller against Dillian White. I think that could be quite a fun one.
I kind of agree with Andy about the heavyweight division being shit, although the savior Tyson Fury is coming back, so there is a glimmer of hope. I don't think
Dave, do you think he comes back to like 80-90% of what he was?
Yeah, I do.
I have a question. I mean, I'm wondering, is Eddie Hearn potentially trying to forestall the Wilder Joshua fight because he thinks that the AJ versus Fury fight makes more money, and maybe he wants to make that first?
It's Donnie. That's going to take at least 6 to 9 months in order to try. I mean, and that's depending on Fury, how he looks like when he comes back. You know, he could get dropped. He could labour to decision victories. Who's going to want to watch the fights and that? You know, so
Yeah, I think the Wilder or Fury against Joshua fights would be interchangeable. I think he's trying to put off the big one as long as he can to eke another couple of paydays out, just in case Joshua gets chinned. He wants to squeeze this lemon for all it's worth first.
I think he's really at the point where he might be able to get one in. He's not going to get two. But the thing is, he's got mandatory defence. He's going to get called. Povetkin's circling. I'm expecting his team to put a bid in for the fight. So unless they get that Wilder fight made, I mean, $50 million guaranteed. I believe that was what Joshua was wanting, and that's what they've apparently wanted to offer him. Okay, there's no contract yet for what we've understand. It's just like there's the offer. It sounds like Hearn's side or Joshua's side hasn't accepted that. I mean, Hearn's not in control here. Let's just get it right. Joshua's the one in control. If he wants to fight, he says yes. Give me the contract.
Hey, Dave, tell me what you were saying about Miller and all them boys.
I think he's a big overweight lump who is still a factor in today's heavyweight division because it's not very good. Like, I wouldn't even be that surprised to see him beat Joshua because he's big and somewhat effective, and Joshua has some glaring flaws. But I don't think he will. I don't think he'll ever be much of anything. If the titles were more spread out, like they're getting there. I mean, with the rankings, like these sanctioning bodies put up there, they're liable to strip anybody at any time. Just throw their belt around to any Eastern European guy who they have ranked in their top 10 for some reason. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Jarrell Miller would win a belt. But I don't think he'll ever be at the top of the division. And yeah, I think Wilder would beat him as well, and Tyson Fury would beat him as well. But I mean, that's not hating on him that much because those are the top three in the division right now. But still, the division is weak, like Andy said, and Miller is a big lump. I didn't know about his trainer shitting on him like that. That's disturbing for him if true. If your own trainer is saying you don't have to get in shape.
If he can do the distance at a pace, then what's the problem?
Well, he could be faster. He could be more explosive. I don't know. I've barely even seen the guy fight. I've seen him like twice. Didn't see last night's fight. He's slow. He's plodding. He's kind of like a lump in there. I don't think he's very good.
I disagree, Dave. I don't think he's. I mean, footwork wise, yeah, and movement wise, he's not the quickest. But I think he's got decently good hand speed and things. So I mean, I'm kind of thinking the same thing along those lines as Steve on that one, where I don't really know. I mean, I think it's one of those things that if he comes in lighter and we see improvement, then that could be good, because I don't think this isn't a situation where more weight equals more power. I mean, more weight in this scenario to me indicates probably lower gas tank, more issues with movement. Last night he dictated the pace, so it wasn't an issue because he chose what to do, when to do it, how to do it. If he goes in against Wilder or anyone else with that size, then he's going to have issues because of the fact that they're going to push the pace. They're going to dictate how things go, and he ain't going to be able to stand up 12 rounds to a quick pace.
Andy, I'm just looking at some of the fights from last night. Obviously, we don't need an in-depth breakdown. I didn't even see it. I don't expect you did either. But I noticed Arthur Abraham got a win in Germany against Patrick Nielsen, a fighter that you've watched quite a lot. I mean, are we getting to the stage now in Abraham's career where we're starting to get a little bit concerned? I'm concerned every time I see his name on the roster. I mean, this guy's took a lot of punishment over the years. Surely you should think about hanging him up.
He should have lost, actually. I was talking to my mate Lewis Greenslade. He was watching the fight. He thought Nielsen probably just nicked it. Controversial knockdown. I think it was maybe round 5 or 6, I think, for Abraham. It looked like he maybe landed a short right hand to the body and then kind of followed up with a left hook, but he kind of like got Nielsen in a kind of headlock and then he kind of felt his knees for some reason. But I just think they're really trying to get some fighter that kind of really take over the mantle, because Abraham's still drawing good crowds, decent money. Just with that performance, actually, I just wonder if maybe they might even get a rematch involved with that one. But I didn't watch it entirely. I just watched a bit of highlights and stuff. But as you say, he's way pedestrian. He's just constant hands up, blocking shots, taking shots and stuff. As you say, it's going to come at some point that he's going to have to be told to retire, or someone's going to have to badly beat him up to get him to retire.
Yeah, I suppose if he's selling out the arena still and they haven't got a natural successor, they're going to keep wheeling him on out. But yeah, it is getting to the point now. It always seems to be, oh, we'll just build him up a little bit so we can get him to another payday. We'll build him up to another, and they get the payday. Then they build him up a bit more. I mean, how long are they going to wheel this guy out for? I do not know. Across the continent, Aussie, to my shame, I went to bed. I didn't watch the Kermin Leharaga Bradley Skeet fight live. I watched it on Sunday morning. I thought it's going to be another shit fest. The undercard's going to be dog dirt. No interest in it at all. Skeet's going to stink the place out. This guy's going to be a one-dimensional plodder. Boy, was I wrong. What an exciting fight for Bradley Skeet to be in. Unfortunately, Aussie, he was on the wrong side of a second-round drubbing. Fair play to Mr. Leharaga. He found Skeet's weaknesses pretty quickly and he got the job done. Good performance from him.
Yeah, very, very impressive. And I think he's... I saw comments like he's announced himself on there. And whilst I thought Skeet would win, in reality, his best wins are at a domestic level. That saying, we all know Skeet can box. And he had no respect for Skeet's power or what he has. He just bulldozed his way through. He's clearly heavy-handed. And, I mean, the first knockdown, it was like a cuff-in shot. It seemed like Skeet seemed okay about that. But then that second body shot just completely wiped out Bradley Skeet and he simply couldn't recover from it. Looked to really, I think it's fair to say, intimidating atmosphere. Must have been about 13,000 there. And
looked wild, didn't it, when the knockdown?
Did,
like they were about to descend on the ring.
It did, yeah. And I don't know if it would have made a difference, but I've got to question the promoter situation here because I don't know if there's a lot of money knocking around in Spain or something like that, but you've got to think Frank Warren and BT have got the money to bring this guy over here. I mean, Skeet ended up walking to the ring about 1 o'clock last night in the morning. Now, surely that is no good for any sort of preparation, that. Know that you're warming up then, thinking, I mean, near enough every fight went the distance, didn't it? So I'm not making excuses, but surely that couldn't have helped, and the ring looks small, but fair play to the guy. He, what is it, Larrea or something like that? I don't know how you pronounce his name exactly.
He knocked out Denton Vassell in 2016. Did you know that, Ozzy?
Well, I only knew that through looking at his record pre-fight. I did some reading up on it, and apparently just Vassell didn't fancy it, didn't get up. And I really thought this guy would just be made and suited for Skeet. Bulldozing his way forward. Skeet will just use his jab, which is very good. And how wrong was I? And I don't think I'm the only one in being wrong in that. And he's very, very heavy-handed. And it'd be interesting to see how far he can go. He's got a European title around his waist now, so it definitely gives him a decent ranking. So let's wait and see. But it's going to be a struggle for Bradley Skeet now. It's fair to say he's cleaned up domestically. So as a rebuilding stage, it's difficult to see where he's going to go at the moment. I think he'll have some time out. Frank's got to either, whether he goes on the road and, gets an opportunity. I don't think a loss is definitely the end of his career. But domestically, there's not any welterweight fights that screaming out saying, yeah, a win there could, really get him back on the road to the top. So it's going to be interesting times for Bradley Skeet. A definite upset, but a very, very impressive performance from the Spaniard.
Certainly was, Andy. I was looking through his record just now. Leharaga, he was 19 knockouts and 24 wins, but you don't know the type of level. I mean, he knocked out Laszlo Toth, who was only 20-1, but it reeked of a record that was being built up. Kim Paulson as well, he beat him, and obviously Vassell. Answer me this question, Andy. George_GB92 has asked you this. He said, question for the pod, do you think Skeet hanging around British level to win the Lonsdale belt outright impacted his performance last night, as he hasn't had a live challenge since the Eggington fight? Seems like a pretty fair assessment, Andy.
What was that, about 2-3 years ago as well? It's possibly. We've always kind of said it as well, as we'd like to have seen Skeet kind of get pushed on at European level maybe 2-3 years ago even. Obviously we'd like to see the British title getting won outright, kind of the old-fashioned way, then going to European level and that. But it has always kind of felt that Skeet's career's always been held back a wee bit, especially as watching as a fan, basically. But I agree with Ozzy. It felt kind of weird. I'm going to Spain and You know, there was talk about the fight getting held in the UK, and he's had to go over there and that. But I was gobsmacked him getting ice like that. Actually, I was expecting it to go rounds. I know Lareja had a decent enough jab, but I wasn't expecting to kind of come out there and absolutely just take him apart like that. It was absolutely shocking.
Cheers, Andy. Delighted to have our first guest of the evening on the call. It's John Ryder. Welcome back, John. Glad to have you on the call again after so long.
Hi, mate. Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. A big fight, obviously, coming up against Jamie Cox. How's the training and preparation going, John?
Yeah, prep's been great. I mean, we was out in LA for 2 weeks at the mid-February, so it was a great start to camp. Got a few bits of sparring done over there before the match was even made, and it was quite handy to have some southpaws out there as well. So that was a good start to camp. And I mean, coming back, it's been good. There's just a good continuation. Got nice and fit out there, and just carried it on.
Who have you been sparring with? Any recognisable names?
Yeah, Danny Dillon, I think he's 6 now as a pro now. A couple of others, Charlie, Jared, and a couple of others who I can't think their names off the top of my head. But no, we had good sparring. Sparred some good boys in LA as well. Falcao, the Brazilian who won at the silver. Mm-hmm. London, I mean, that was all good sparring.
An all Southpaw affair, obviously you against Jamie. Does that present any particular problems? You obviously tailoring your sparring and training and stuff towards another Southpaw. Any issues there?
No, you know what? In the past we've struggled to get Southpaw sparring for the likes of the Saunders fight. It was really hard, but we've got enough of it this fight, and we've been lucky. I just can't. I know people say 2 southpaws can make for a bad fight, but I don't know. I just can't see our styles not gelling and it not being a good fight.
Yeah, he comes forward, you come forward. It's going to be a good one meeting head on. Just looking at some of your recent fights, obviously you beat Adam Etches, very razor-thin loss to Rocky Fielding, and then the stunning knockout of Patrick Nielsen. A win over Jamie Cox would really start to build some momentum towards something bigger, John?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's obviously coming off the loss to Groves up at world level, and I mean, I'm sure he's looking to prove that he belongs at world level, and I'm looking to prove that I can get there. So there's a lot on the line for both of us. So we're both going to have to fight our hearts out.
For better or for worse, if you look at the respective records, for experience, for names faced, even though obviously you've got a couple of losses, you've mixed in the higher calibre than Jamie. Could that be a factor possibly over the weekend?
Potentially, you never know. I mean, although he has boxed up at world level and I haven't yet. I mean, I know I've boxed Billy Joe, but that was at British level before he'd progressed onto the world stage.
And obviously, if you get past him, we're looking at the rankings here. I have them in front of me. You're obviously 12th ranked with the WBC, quite highly ranked with the WBA. I mean, what type of route will you be looking? Maybe to try and track down the likes of a Tyrone Zoiga, or what names have been talked about? Obviously, you're not looking past Jamie.
Yeah, no, not looking past Jamie at all. But I mean, the likes of Tyrone Zoiga would be wonderful. Do you know what I mean? It's a natural progression. I mean, Groves is tied up with a tournament. So yeah, Tyrone Zoiga will be a fight that I'm sure me or Jamie would be looking at after Saturday.
Just to remind our listeners, we've got John Ryder on the line. I'm right here in saying, John, that your Twitter is _John_Ryder_.
That's it, yeah.
We'll tweet that out as well for anybody who didn't catch
that. Going cheap that day.
Pretty much. A few other John Ryders on Twitter, were there?
Yeah, I think there must have been, yeah.
No problem. If any of the guys have any questions for John, then jump on shortly. Just a couple more from me. What's it like to fight on a big card, obviously? Are you looking forward to it? Any nerves? The fact that it's on a big pay-per-view extravaganza?
No, you know what? I'm a bit long in the tooth for it now. I've been on a lot of big shows. I've been lucky enough to be on a lot of big shows now. So it's just another ring in a slightly bigger venue with slightly more people there. But no, I'm looking to look forward to today in Bellew. But no, it's an event. It's, you know what I mean, the fight week starts next week, and then you got all the stuff, the media workouts, press conferences. So it's a busy week, and I don't think you have time for the nerves to settle in.
Yeah. Just looking at some of the names knocking on towards world level, what did you make of James DeGale's rematch win over Caleb Truax recently? Do you think he got the job done handily enough?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was anything in it. Did he win? I think he won fairly well, and I think he showed that he wasn't himself on in the first fight. But I think he's far from vintage James DeGale.
And what about this David Benavidez, the WBC champ? Quite a few people impressed by him. He's clearly a big unit, a big puncher. What do you make of him?
Yeah, he looks like a real tough challenger. I mean, he's only, I think he's only 21 as well. I did read recently that he was potentially moving back down to middleweight, so that would be interesting to see how that pans out.
It would, given his size as well. He's a pretty tall fella.
Yeah, I mean, he's massive. He's quite a similar stamp to Ramirez, isn't he? I think they're both big fellas, so it'd be interesting to see if he does go down or if it's just all talk.
Yeah, it certainly would be. We're not going to keep John for too much longer. We do appreciate him coming on. Any members of the panel want to ask John Ryder any questions?
Hey, John, just one question for me, mate. After the Nielsen fight, you were, potentially in line to fight Vinny Feigenbutz. What happened with that fight kind of falling apart, and that is a wee bit kind of frustrating as well, can't it? We're going to be sitting out since October, no fighting.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a gut. I mean, I was down to Feigenbutz. I got offered the fight with Arthur Abraham, and I agreed to both of them. So it wasn't from my side, but it's just one of them things where they look at alternative routes and it's panned out differently. But yeah, it's been quite frustrating. But come Saturday, that all that gets put aside and focus on that.
Lad I know in Germany, actually, obviously Abraham beat Nielsen last night by disputed decision, but they reckon now that they'll make Abraham Tyron Zeuger because they're kind of desperate to try and make a star after Abraham, so to speak, because German boxing is really kind of struggling at the minute, eh?
Yeah, I always thought that's how it'd pan out. I mean, it's they need a passing of the guard, so they wouldn't want an Englishman to come over and beat Arthur Abraham, would they? They need to be a German.
Yeah, I think Abraham's seen better days, so definitely fancy that one. Any other members of the panel want to ask John any questions?
Yeah, just a quick one from me, John. Looking at your resume compared to Jamie Cox's, Steve touched on it before, but do you think I think it's fair to say that the levels you've been in at, whilst he's been in with George Groves, that was essentially a one-off, that, and in reality, his other opponents have been at a lot lesser level. Do you think your fights with like even Kamitsky, Nick Blackwell, Billy Joe, Rocky Fielding, obviously Patrick Nielsen will stand you in better stead, that knowing that if the going can get tough, is that you've been there, done it, and you can go on down the straight, whereas Cox hasn't really shown that in any of his fights.
Yeah, definitely, because they're all good opponents. I mean, the likes of Kamitsky, he's had his losses, but he's had a good lot of wins as well, and he's been in with some great names, and he's one of them. He's a bit of a gatekeeper that he's going to take you through the hard times, and if you come through, then you should potentially go on to bigger and better things. And if you can ride a storm against Kamitsky, you can probably ride a storm against anyone. But it's just, yeah, I think I've had a lot of good fights, and I've learned a lot in fights. So I think that will stand me in great stead for Saturday.
And obviously, this is what's this going to be now? This is going to be a fourth fight at super middle. Do you think you're really growing into the weight now? Because I know when you were trying to make 160, that the last few pounds were essentially draining you and taking a lot out of you. Do you feel like you're really growing into the weight now, and you feel much fresher, better, stronger, fitter?
Yeah, I mean, camps are completely different now. I mean, at 160, it was this last week was hell. Now I'm going into this week knowing it's not going to be easy, but I've got a lot more to play with, and I can eat and drink a bit and get the best out of myself. And even through camp, the pressure off me, not having to make 160 is so much more enjoyable. I'm not just training now to lose weight. I'm training fitness with strength, with everything. So I feel like I'm a much better athlete.
I was going to say, does that make a big difference as well, that in fight week you're not worrying about the weight, and like all your concentrations are thinking, bloody hell, I need to get this weight off, and in reality you can relax and you know that it's going to come off and you can concentrate on more important things?
Yeah, definitely, because my biggest battle needs to be on the ring Saturday night, not on the scales on Friday. So there's a huge amount of pressure off me now. I still have to train hard, I still have to diet hard, but it wasn't a thing of being lazy. It was just that I just got too big. My genetics just were failing me to do the 160.
Cheers, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ozzy. Final couple of questions from me, John. Who's the hardest puncher that you've ever fought?
I got asked the other day. I would probably say Kamitsky. He could whack a bit. I mean, I did feel his power, and it was a good shot he caught me with. But I was glad that I'd felt it and didn't want to feel it again, kind of thing.
Is it like a clubbing power that you sort of catch on the arms and elbows early and makes you a bit more wary?
Yeah, I mean, it lets you know you can't switch off. And I mean, I got cut I think in the second round with a head clash with him. So I was very much on the defensive all night. But he could. And even the ones that he hit with on the arms, you could feel his power, and that never left him.
And just finally, from me, which fighter surprised you the most? Like, I mean, say you got in with somebody and he was a lot faster than you thought he would be. He punched harder. He took a shot better. Who surprised you the most?
Probably Nick Blackwell. I mean, I went into that even I was levels above him, and for 6 rounds I was, and then he turned it on and I egg on my face.
Yep, thanks, John, for joining us. _John, _Ryder, _ John, you're always welcome back on here, and best of luck over the weekend.
Lovely. Thanks for having me.
All the best. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
All the best, mate. Hope he wins like next week, and hope he wins by knockout.
I do too. The question Ozzy asked was pretty much the same lines I was going under. I know that he's boxed at world level, Jamie Cox, but we saw what happened, you know what I mean, against George Groves.
You've seen the size difference as well. I mean, John was a thick set middleweight before he moved up. Ozzy, he's saying to Ozzy that he's kind of like he's looking really good at the weight now. Yeah, I think he's going to be not much dwarf him, but I think he'll be far bigger than what Jamie Cox will be on the night.
Cox is a middleweight. Cox is a middleweight. He's openly said when he was with Frank Warren, he trained with John Costello. He still does actually, but obviously John was part of Jack Catterall's corner when Jack was with Lee Beard, and they always said Jamie Cox was a big, strong middleweight, and super middle wasn't for him. So he's essentially super middle, because he got a huge money offer, didn't he? To go into the World Series, and the cash is there for him at the moment. In reality, he goes to middleweight. Can you really see Jamie Cox mixing it with Golovkin, Jacobs, Saunders, Charlo? Absolutely no chance.
I know I'm not just saying this because he was on with us, obviously, but I do believe John is at a point in his career that just shows about the losses. You're all the better for the losses with the experience. He's got 4 or 5 losses on his record, but he now takes that forward, a bit like Jamie McDonald to a certain extent as well, and that makes him, the experiences, Ozzy, make him a better fighter, and I think he's at his peak now in his prime years, and he'll be all the thankful for the experience he's had, whether it's a win, a lose, or a draw, and he's ready to sort of push on towards world level now with those experiences to hand. I
agree. I think it's fair to say that records are for DJs, and that's it. Look at Josh Whale, prime example. I think the guy's he's had something like 28 fights. I think he's lost 10 or 11, but he's 1 fight off winning the British title outright. Now, if you just look at that on paper, you would think, yeah, he's just, he's one of them. I mean, look at Prince Patel's. He's 14-0, 1 draw. On paper, you'd think, bloody hell, this guy must be decent. In reality, he's garbage. Absolute garbage, and it just proves that records are for DJs and that fighters can suffer a loss, and the right fights you can rebuild. Now, John's not had a fight. I mean, in my opinion, I'm not just saying it because he was on, but I actually thought he beat Rocky Fielding. That was a raise, and there was a lot of people who also thought the same as well. Same with Jack Armfield as well. They were very, very close fights. I think there's only Blackwell realistically that who stopped him. And I think Billy Joe Saunders has said that John Ryder's given him one of his most toughest fights of his career.
It was close enough that, and Ryder went over to Box Nation, didn't he, to take the fight?
He did, yeah. And I think that in itself, in terms of like credit, for Saunders, even further down the line, he didn't just say it then. Saunders has said it when he beat Andy Lee, that John Ryder gave him his toughest fight. I think that's credit in itself, that, and it shows that obviously when he's not weight drained and stuff like that, he can perform at above British level. So, I mean, we'll talk about the fight after, but the fight with Cox it's a great fight, real good fight, and one that I think everybody can look forward to.
Yeah, would agree with that. We're going to go on to the Magdaleno Dogboe fight very shortly with you, Hater Dave. So get yourself primed. A fight that slipped through the radar in the Don Haskins Centre in Texas. I don't know if Gabe was here or not last night. I didn't see any of this. Didn't realise it was on, to be honest. Don't think I even mentioned it last night. Erickson Lubin getting back to winning ways, knocking out Silverio Ortiz. Anthony Durrell, unanimous decision over Abraham Han. That was a pretty decent fight on paper, actually. Han's not as bad as his record suggests. Ryan the Cowboy Carl got knocked out by Kevin Watts. Jorge Lara returned. He was knocked out in the first round by Claudio Marrero. That's a bit of a shock one. I believe Lara's absence is due to the fact that he got shot or something. That can always be a hindrance to your career or life in general. Josecito Lopez in the main event won a unanimous decision of Miguel Cruz. No idea about either of those two. Lopez was decent back in the day. I think he beat Victor Ortiz at one point. Don't worry about that, Hater Dave. Tell me about Magdaleno Dogboe. Me and Andy on the Dogboe hype train. He got the job done. Magdaleno, bit of ring rust, maybe out the ring for too long. Just couldn't cope with Dogboe over the long run, Dave.
Just a note on Josecito Lopez. Yes, he did beat Victor Ortiz, although he was getting his ass kicked the whole fight. He did end up landing a punch that broke Ortiz's jaw and forced him to quit.
Did he fight Madonna in the end and get a beating off him? Was that the same guy?
Did,
Lopez, I'm sure he did.
He did, although he hurt Maidana. And this was after, unfortunately, beating Victor Ortiz lined him up for a shot against Canelo. And that was a short-lived, pathetic, embarrassing affair for anyone who hates Canelo. As far as this fight last night, this saved the weekend. This saved boxing's momentum from going right down the shitter for me. It was fight of the year candidate, awesome battle. I would have favored Magdaleno, seeing what he did to Donaire, not knowing anything about Dogboe, but I'm thrilled a Ghanaian, an African fighter, got a big win on free TV. It was ESPN, right? This is Top Rank.
Yes, it was ESPN.
Yeah, that's great. That's great for fans to see. That's fabulous. I really do like this Top Rank deal with ESPN, getting some pretty significant fights on regular TV. And when the fights deliver like they did last night, that's the kind of fights that'll make new fans of the sport.
Dave, tell me this. Isn't it going on to some kind of an app in future where you pay $4.99 for like ESPN Plus or something?
They've said this might happen with football and baseball. I don't know about boxing. I have not followed that.
Yes, it is. They're going to put some fights on that ESPN Plus app, I think is what it's called. And then, like they were saying last night, they kept mentioning it fucking over and over and over about the $4.99 subscription. Anyway, you pay your subscription, and like you said, like they've said, it's mostly football and a few kind of, I guess, less mainstream sports in the States. But they are going to have boxing. And I think, matter of fact, the Khan fight last week was broadcast on that app. So they're going to move to doing more stuff on that app. And I'm not sure what that's going to mean. I think they said the next Crawford fight is actually going to be on the ESPN Plus app, which from my knowledge so far, I haven't seen widely available to download on a smart TV or for people that like watching this shit on TV. So if you like watching on your phone and that kind of stuff, fair play, but I'm not really crazy about the idea. I think it's shit.
Yeah, it seems like unnecessarily complicated. Why can't we just have the old days where we flipped on our TV, went to the right sports channel, and watched the damn fights?
That's what I was moaning about. I really don't want to do this streaming shit all the time. I mean, especially if you live somewhere like Texas in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, your internet speeds aren't always great, and you end up losing shit.
Listen to you, Pat.
Gabe will be climbing a windmill, like holding his phone up for a signal.
Fucking miserable bastards, by the way. Miserable bastards.
Back in the old days.
And my mama used to shag my papa.
Well, I guess you poor bastards are used to paying out the ass for subscription fees for
no.
Sky, Box Nation. Y'all got your fees.
BT,
I don't pay for that shit.
You don't pay for that shit, man.
I don't pay for none of that. Team Stream, man. There's no excuse for anybody to be paying for anything these days with the internet.
Well,
apart from Patreon, please subscribe.
I guess that's why they're charging for this app now.
$5 a month, gentlemen. Just get subscription on there. You know, some good content on there.
What do you get for the $5?
You get to listen to me and Steve.
Oh, right. No, I'm in the ESPN.
All right.
The ESPN app doesn't look too bad, Dave, or Gabe, or whoever, or Donnie. Maybe you know more about this. You're getting Horn Crawford, aren't you? Mark Kriegel last night said it was really good value. He's an impartial voice. I'm willing to go with
He's
that.
fucking dire. See him? He's dire. He shouldn't be commentating on boxing. Just going on to that card, actually, I was listening to in between commentary for some reason. You could actually hear them talking.
Yeah, that's right. They didn't turn the microphones off, did they? That was a good heavyweight discussion. Yeah, thanks.
They were trying to get the narrative set and that. Oh, I can talk about his dad and that, and being in the army. I'm like,
that was brilliant. No, that was brilliant insight, wasn't it? I'm glad they accidentally left the mics on.
Aye to that. But it just shows you how they fit the narratives, though. Eh?
You finished, Dave?
Aye, Dave, you finished.
Yeah, just about.
Right, come on, Andy, tell me.
Not much about the fight, but whatever.
Well, we'll move on to Andy. We'll come back to you in a minute. Magdaleno obviously knocked Dogboe down in the first round. I had egg on my face and I was thinking, oh, God, here we go. But I knew that Dogboe, I remember him fighting in Belfast a few years ago against Andy Harris. Now, Harris is only a journeyman and it was in the waterfront and it was really quiet at the beginning of the night. But you could hear this guy's punches thudding around the room. And I thought to myself, this Dogboe can punch. He's fit. He's fast. Magdaleno's been out the ring for a while. Turned out that our theory, Andy, was correct.
It was, mate. I'm fully on board with that train now. I mean, you know how you get these fighters and that who, you know, he just... I was a big Rocky Lockridge fan, for example, and he had a few defeats and that, and he was always a kind of warrior. And I always get that impression with Dogboe. He's actually very underrated, I think. If you look at his defence in that last night, he was able to get his hand round. He was a bit kind of awkward and dirty sometimes and that, drop a few low blows, but I like a fighter like that. I like a fighter who's going to get in their pure beast killer mode, and that's what he done there last night. What, you know, came back well in the second round after the knockdown. Just as you mentioned, Steve, about his power, you could hear his thudding shots. That see that right hand he landed for the fifth round knockdown.
Belter, wasn't he?
He took the guy actually off his feet and knocked him back across the ring. You know, it was just absolute beast like fucking power. He maybe kind of slowed down a wee bit around about 8th and 9th, which is no surprise actually, because you know they were loading up big time, you know, on those shots. And then obviously it was the 11th round really kind of put the pressure on him. Body shots. I mean, that was the thing about him last night. He didn't really go head hunting when he hit this guy hurt. That he kind of
agree with that. That's what served him. You see, whenever he got Magdaleno hurt, he went straight to the body, and I think that's what eventually weakened Magdaleno. There was a few low blows, but that was very clever. I thought.
Yeah. Very, very good polished performance. I think, you know, I'm really on this hype train now. You know, well, obviously, if he gets beat, he gets beat. But I'm still going to be a supporter of him because he's just, you know, all action. Don't know if he's a member of the prison canteen. He was a part of the police social club though. So, but he's for Bakum though. That's where Jimmy Nelson's face. Well, you know, all the other, you know, Daniel Cote and all the guys. You know, he's fucking absolute hard as nails. Going to be in a lot of great fights. You know. Definitely a contender for fight of the year. You know,
never fought in the canteen, Andy. I've just checked. Never fought.
But he fought in a social club though. He fought for the club.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
So that's a kind of decent promotion for him. So yeah, all round great fight, potential fight of the year. And as you say, you know, absolute, you know, joy to watch. Actually, you know, just all action. Puts himself on the line. You know, could work on a few things in that, but other than that, man, he's just absolutely brilliant to watch. I would agree with Dave, actually. It probably saved the weekend, actually.
Yeah, it was a good fight. Richard Swig's been in touch. He said, enjoyed the interview with John Ryder, enjoyed his career thus far, and I think I speak for most of us when I say I'd be delighted to see him beat Jamie Cox. Yes, you do speak for me anyway, Richard. Gabe, tell me about this fight. Dogboe down in the first round, dropped Magdaleno in the 5th, got him down and out twice in the 11th round. He's only 23, exuberance of youth. Performed really well. His dad, Paul Dogboe, no boxing experience, I don't think. He got the game plan right, go to the body, throw the right hand. Donnie's coughing away over there. We'll get him in a minute. What do you think about Dogboe Magdaleno, Gabe?
It was a good fight. I don't necessarily agree with whoever it was a minute ago that said it was fight of the year candidate. I mean, it was good.
What's been better so far this year?
It's going to be up there. Christ, man, you got two guys. Well, okay, he's 23-year-old, so he's not really in his peak.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 25 Magdaleno. These are no old guys.
I think it's as decent as anything we've seen, Gabe. I know people were talking about Rumfizai and
No. There's no way you can compare that fight with the Estrada Rumfizai fight. No chance.
I thought this was better than that fight.
You're raging because your boy got beat last night. That's what happened.
Yeah.
No. I was about to get to that. I just don't.
You became Magdaleno. You can Dogboe the shit and that.
Last week, I think we heard Singing.
I will. I did,
Magdaleno.
but look, here's the point that I'm trying to make. The first few rounds were good. After Magdaleno got knocked down in the 5th round, which I was surprised he got up from the way he went down. That was a hell of a punch. After that point, he never really got back in the fight. He had a few moments here and there, and he had a few spots where he caught Dogboe with some body punches, and they kind of backed him off a little bit. But he never really lost complete control from that knockdown on, and it was a great performance. He landed to the body, and that's what got him the win in the end. I was surprised at how big he looked last night. I didn't think he was going to be that much. And I'm not saying there was a great size difference, but I think the size difference that there was more than I thought it was going to be. Just from what I'd seen the two, in pictures and things before. But it was a good fight. It was a really good fight, and I think it was. But from the 5th round on, it was pretty much Dogboe was in control. And then, as the fight kept wearing on, Magdaleno's punches weren't having any impact. I think it was, and I think I mentioned this in the chat, that he, it was less about, after the knockdown, about Magdaleno's inadequacies as a fighter, but more about his inability to recover, because he never really got his legs back under him in a way that he could sit down on punches and really forced Dogboe to stay back. And he did land some good punches. Dogboe ate him up, though. You know what I mean? Like, the kid put on a great show. And I think in the end it was I don't think you can chalk it all up to the layoff for Magdaleno. I think that was a huge part of it. I really do. I feel like that was a huge part of it. But, he was getting hit with punches that, he probably shouldn't have been, just the way that he was fighting, and Dogboe's kind of somewhat awkward style and timing and things got him in the position to land some good punches, and he did, and he seized the opportunity. So it was a good fight, but I don't think it was as good as Estrada Rungvisai. I don't think that by any chance.
I thought it was better personally, but we're not getting into that. Ozzy, I know you were busy over the weekend. Did you get a chance to see anything of this one?
Yeah, I watched it all. I watched it all this morning. I really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed it. I tweeted out before, I said there's a lot to like about Dogboe. Loads to like. He's down to earth. I think he's top class. And I tell you what, he's never been down before, so obviously game plan out the window round 1. Did well to get up, because Bradley on commentary was saying how hard Magdaleno can hit, so he's no slouch with the power. But that round 5, wow.
Ozzy, sorry to interrupt you. Didn't Bradley say something about Magdaleno had sent him to hospital from sparring or something?
Yeah, I thought it was. I didn't know if he said that. I didn't know if he said he dropped him or he sent him to hospital or something like that. But that shows how hard this guy hits. So he's no slouch, and I think he asked a lot of questions of Dogboe, and I thought early on it was sometimes like it was like a bit of a rag doll, really. Like he was landing the shots, and I thought while Dogboe he took them, I thought he didn't look comfortable taking them, but then he grew into the fight, and the swing of momentum really shifted after 5. And fair play to Magdaleno, because I thought to get up, it was. The shot that knocked him down was unbelievable, and I think it would have stopped a lot of super bantams there. But Magdaleno will definitely come again, and it was a brilliant finish from Dogboe, real good finish. And like I said, I think he's here to stay at the top level now. I think him and Ray Vargas would be a very good fight, and like I say, yeah, good fights, and it'd be interesting to see where he goes. Really, they might look to have a defence over in Ghana, perhaps, against, some absolute no mark. But I think when he boxed there in that, was it for the final eliminator or something like that? I can't remember the crowd, but it was like that Bilbao crowd, just wild. Loads of people there. It looked good. But no, it was a thingy. It was a real good fight, and I said it's exactly what world level boxing is all about. Two well matched guys, and they produced the goods. Real good fight. And I'd love to see it again.
See, Diego De La Hoya is the #1 contender as well.
Interesting, because for all the mandatories that fly around, Dogboe's not exactly the easiest one, is it? You know, you've seen that some like Kell Brook had like Bizier and Jojo Dan and stuff like that. And then Magdaleno ends up with Dogboe, who has obviously got ability. But I think the inactivity obviously hampered him as well, to be honest. I don't think that did him any favours whatsoever. What was it, a year out the ring last night? Bang on 12 months. Was Dogboe boxed twice. I don't think that did Magdaleno any favours at all.
Donnie, anything from you on this one? I compared this to a possible silent Mabuza-Rafael Marquez fight, but it wasn't in the end, because in that fight, Marquez got the business done. In this one, it was the Mabuza-type character, Dogboe, who turned the tide, and he upset the odds, really. Donnie?
Oh, wait. No, Steve, I didn't see this one.
Oh. Not to worry, Donnie. That's okay.
Well,
You get that watched, you absolute casual. Get it watched. Put it on the now.
Look, first of all, I think that you guys have streaming sites that I don't know about. But anyways, I watched the Jarrell fight, and then right after that, I switched over to HBO to watch Jarrell Big Baby Miller, and then right after that was the main event. So that's all I saw.
Donnie, beg men will sort you out for a streaming site.
Have fun.
Anyone want to comment on anything from the undercard? Jesse Hart, a lot of beef with Demond Nicholson. Nicholson apparently had tweeted out some obscenities beforehand. I'm not that fussed on Hart. He's all right, but he's not going to follow in the footsteps of his old man, I don't think. Bryant Jennings, my new favourite heavyweight, Joey DeVecco. I'd actually looked him up, Aussie, over the weekend because I wasn't sure who he was. The white James Toney, loving this guy. He's got the skills along with the rotund nature.
Oh, that fight was awful.
He's got skills, though, hasn't he, the fat guy?
If you want to... It wasn't that. For me, fucking Charles Martin knocked this guy out, this DeVecco.
He has a draw with Big Baby Miller?
Well, yeah. When was that?
What does that tell you about Miller, though?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, exactly. What does that tell you about... Miller was obviously, he was a lot lighter then. He was 286 pounds. He's a reformed character now, weighing in at over 300 pounds, so... Miller knows best. He's over the 300 pound mark and he's getting the solid wins. Below 300 pounds, he was getting the draws. So, like I said, fuck the trainer. He knows what he's doing. But no, I think Jennings is. He just poses no threat at any top level now. I don't really know where he got. I remember you asked me a question actually a couple of months ago, like what's next for Bryant Jennings, and I couldn't answer it then, and I really couldn't answer it now. He's perhaps some sort of gatekeeper or something like that, you know, maybe one of the heavyweights coming through. I don't really know. I watched the Hart fight. It wasn't that bad actually. I thought at some points they just teed off on each other, but I've bloody lost the guy's name now, but his opponent he just quit. It was one of the weirdest finishes I've seen. It was poor refereeing, to be honest. That was it, Desmond Nicholson. He dropped him, and then he's counted to 8, this guy, the referee, and he's saying, are you going to get up? Are you going to get up? And this, he's just looking at him. I'm thinking, like, what's he doing? Why is he not waving it off? It was such an odd finish. And then he stood up, and then he just waved him off anyway. So it was an odd fight. I know the commentary were pretty on the back of Nicholson, basically saying like his tweets were bang out of order, etc., things like that. But
was that the referee you were mentioning? That was weird, because I actually sided with the referee originally because Nicholson was clearly upset about something. The referee was trying to enter into a dialogue with him. You know, he was giving him a chance. I sort of understand that, but then as soon as Nicholson stood up, he then waved it off. It was weird.
But in my opinion, that if the referee hasn't seen like a clear foul like a foul shot or something like that, he can't just abandon his count and start discussing with him. He got to 8, and then the guy showed no signs of getting up. So in my opinion, that is just a quick job. We saw it. Who did Frampton stop in? Oh, it was a while ago.
Hugo Cazares.
Yes,
and
it was.
We had a conversation with him afterwards, and he tried to say that he didn't understand the referee's count because he was speaking a different language. And I said to him, well, the referee was counting in front of you, and fingers and thumbs have no language barrier, and he couldn't really answer that. So
yeah, exactly, yeah. But it reminded me of that in a way, that basically they just wanted out. And in my opinion, Nicholson wanted out. He he cried foul a couple of times, and in reality, I just didn't think he wanted to be in there. He spoke a good game on social media, like many fighters do these days, but in reality, he couldn't back it up.
Anyone else want to make any brief comments about the Philadelphia card before we move on? No. Friday night, Donnie, Dave, Gabe, I don't know if any of you saw the Evander Holyfield tournament. I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty decent. Felix Diaz, the tournament favourite, didn't manage to get through to the next round, lost to Francisco Santana. Chris Van Heerden beat the game Timo Schwarzkopf in their quarterfinal. Brad Solomon against Paddy Gallagher. Paddy had him down in the first round. Solomon, he's all right. He's like a cut-price Broner. In looks anyway, he's not the best. I thought it was a close fight, but they all had it. For some, I don't know how they managed this. It was like a 7-point turnaround on the scores. Gallagher knocked him down in the first round. Clearly, Mayo's won the second, and yet one judge in the open scoring after 5 rounds had Gallagher 3 rounds down. I couldn't understand that, but anyway, Frederick Lawson. I thought from what I was watching he'd lost to Babashambo Nayasawula, who's Chinese apparently, but he got the decision. And Sergei Lubkovic, supposed to be the new Golovkin. He didn't look very good against Kareem Mayfield. I believe friend of the pod, David Lee, actually had Mayfield winning that fight. Not too keen on Lubkovic. Anyone see this Evander Holyfield tournament? I know Andy didn't. Anybody else?
Well, I don't know. I didn't see it, but the KFC Yum Center is going to rival the prison canteen.
Anybody else? No? Going once, going twice. Aussie, didn't see anything of the Friday night card. Liam Cameron against Nicky Jenman. I believe it was a bit of a rough ending for Jenman. What did Cameron bang him out?
I think if you're fucking staying home on a Friday night to watch Kareem Mayfield fight at the fucking KFC Yum Center, you know what? You're a pathetic individual.
Yeah, Aussie. Did you stay at home to watch Liam Cameron against Nicky Jenman, you pathetic individual?
I wasn't at home, but I didn't watch this fight. I saw the finish. I knew I was talking to Big Russ during the fight week, and Jenman bombed the weight. He was 2.5 pounds over, and so it's a shootout for Cameron, isn't it? He can't lose his Commonwealth title, and he went out there and he did exactly what he should have done. Jenman lost, I think, to Andrew Robinson. A domestic fighter on the Midlands boxing scene, in a close fight, and those guys are like knocking around English level at best, I would say. So Cameron destroyed him. Jenman was a late replacement in against Danny Butler from Bristol, and yeah, it was one of those really. Cameron did exactly what he should have done. The fight I want to see for Cameron next is in with one of Frank Warren's guys, Mark Heffron. Middleweight, Commonwealth title on the line. I think that's a great fight. Real good fight. And one that, for me, in my opinion, that there's no reason why that cannot be made. Heffron's out on the Leeds card next month. After that, there's no reason why those two guys can't get it on next.
Okay. I'm just trying to bring up a question on my phone, actually. We're going to be going on to the previews for next week very shortly. Somebody's asking about pound for pound list. I think the Guru was putting out one this week, a bit of a clickbait from the Guru, so I'm not going to pay too much attention to that. Let's have a look. Right, Donnie, I'm going to hit you on with this one, actually, from Simon O'Leary. He said he was watching some old clips of Sir Joe Calzaghe, and it made him remember pulling an all-nighter for the Roy Jones fight that ended at about 7 a.m. Maybe you're not the best person to ask about this, because whenever you're watching the fights in America, you'll probably be watching them, obviously, at a normal time to you, but I'll ask you anyway. I've started to all finish. So anyway, Mr. O'Leary was pulling an all-nighter for the Roy Jones fight against Calzaghe. I did the same. What fights can the panel remember doing an all-nighter for and then think, why the fuck am I doing this to myself? So when have you pulled an all-nighter, Donnie, and questioned your existence?
You know what? I'm almost ashamed to admit this, but I remember waking up at a very early hour in the morning, probably about 4 or 5 in the morning, for, I think it was Joseph Parker versus
Andy Ruiz?
No, I think it was David Tua.
He hasn't fought Tua, has he?
Then wait. Who did David Tua fight? Like in one of his last fights?
Shane Cameron.
Yes. Yeah.
You stayed up for that?
Yeah, I did. Well, that was back in 2011, and that was a
Hardcore credibility, Donnie.
I had a lot less going for me in my life than back in the and I stayed up for that shit. What a piece of garbage that was. Oh my god, I can't believe I watched that fight. I was like, and I remember too, like my stream cut out, and like I found like another stream for.
What a legend! Some hardcore credibility for Donnie here tonight.
Yeah.
There you go, Simon Alavey. I bet you weren't expecting that one. Thanks for that, Donnie. Right, moving on to...
I'll give you one if you want.
Go on, Andy, go ahead.
Ishii Smith against Canelo's Brundridge or Carlos Molina.
Friggin' hell. Flip me. I bet you were feeling like hey to Dave Lobatt the next morning, weren't you?
It was like, you know, you question why you do it, you question your meaning in life, your standing in the community and all that type of stuff. But you know, nowadays you've really got to be very selective, unless you can actually like just power through it. But I did that a wee bit last night, but I gave up a bit after. I kind of really gave up after the Dogboe fight last night, because Katie Taylor was fighting during it, and then I wasn't watching the heavyweights, and I kind of came to for the JACOBS fight and that, So
yeah, I haven't even mentioned Katie Taylor. Congratulations to her. I didn't actually download or watch that fight, but I believe she beat Bustos, I think was the opponent, and she's got a couple of titles now, Andy, possibly.
It was a tough fight too.
Unified champ now. I was on the background. I couldn't even comment, but she's like another belt away, be doing a Cecilia Brackhouse, but fair play to her.
Yeah, fair play to her. Cecilia Brackhouse as well will be fighting next weekend. We may or may not mention that one. Just going into the niche territory here. Next Saturday night, this could be a decent fight actually. Dmitry Chudinov is travelling over to Uzbekistan to take on 10-0 super middleweight Azizbek Abdugaforov. I've heard good things about him, so he could be one to watch. And forget about the Charlo brothers. What about the Baysangorov brothers over in Azerbaijan? It's quite reminiscent of the Charlos, actually. They're both fighting in the Sports Time Palace. Middleweight Kasan Baysangorov is 15-0. And his brother, super welterweight, Kusain Baysangorov, is 12-0. So the Baysangorovs could be taken over from the Charlos pretty soon. Next Friday evening, we have in the StubHub Centre, Andy's mate Ryan Garcia going in against Jason Velez. Decent step up for Garcia, actually.
That's a decent fight that for him, by the way.
You know what, Andy? I was going to say this to you, actually. I know that we've shit on Garcia and all that, but if he's as good as Golden Boy think he is, now I know he's lost a lot of high-profile fights in the amateurs and all that, but he looks the part. He has this amazing following of... This is a demographic that has never followed boxing before, that follow him. These sort of...
Like Oscar fans.
Well, you have all these teeny bopper girls, these young 14 to 19-year-olds. If they're going to be on the Garcia hype train, they've got money, they're going to be buying pay-per-views. I'm not going out the realms of possibility here. If Garcia keeps winning at a decent level, could we see him selling multiple pay-per-views in a few years to a demographic that has never been involved in boxing or interested in boxing before?
Can guarantee that's what Oscar's banking on and hoping for, because obviously with the Canelo situation. But as I say, it's a decent step up. You're quite right in what you're saying. It's just the whole thing on social media and that, just what he's doing with himself. It just doesn't sit with me. He's a wee annoying little fucking. It's like Thrush, an annoying little cunt. But it's just, Velez, okay, he's got 4 defeats, but he's never been stopped. Okay, he lost to Jojo Diaz, Ronnie Rios, I think there's Alvarado as well, but drew Yevgeny Granovich as well. So it's a really good step up for him. And at this point in his career, if he was to stop him as a statement, a 19-year-old stop a guy like Velez would. Okay, Velez might not be all that, but at the same time, as he's mixed with decent operators. And if, as you say, as Garcia's meant to be taking that next step, he's going to be like this kind of mega attraction. If he deals with Velez and that, I think Oscar will be very happy. He's kind of like one step closer to getting a kind of new superstar, so to speak.
You know who else will be happy to see a bunch of young teenage girls buying pay-per-views and getting into boxing?
Bill Cosby?
Ray Pop. No, he's in prison now. Well, he's going to be
Ray Pops.
Ray Poplowski.
Who's the girl that he always follows around?
Oh, what's her name?
Is it Bella?
Bella Thorne. But she's gotten too old for him, I think. She turned 18.
Oh, did she? Is she an actress then? I actually don't know who she is, but I watch Ray's Obsession with Interest.
I don't know who she is. I think she's like a Disney Channel kid. One of those I don't know, like Shia LaBeouf was one of those kids who started on the Disney Channel shows and got big.
He's got me blocked anyway, so I can't see what he's up to.
Yeah, he's got me blocked as well for some reason.
He's blocked everybody.
He's a pedo, that one, like.
Allegedly. You wanted to say something, Donnie? You're the legal part of the team. Any pedo accusations? Can we get away with that? Maybe not. What do you think?
Oh no, I'm not going to make any pedo accusations. You know what? I'm a live and let live type of guy.
What?
Look.
What are you talking about? Like, let pedos be pedos?
I want to defend Ray Pop.
Oh, ambulance chasing bastard, eh? With their blamers a claim, yeah, bastard.
No, but I mean, all he
You're
does
30%.
Them he tweets her compliments, and he tweets other underage actresses compliments. That's not illegal. It's creepy, but you know what? I mean, whatever floats his boat. I mean, unless he whips it out, you know what? I'll defend him as the day is long. I mean, you know,
I'll tell you what. Exactly. I'll tell you what, mate. You need to be defending Adam Johnson, by the way.
Yeah.
Bill Cosby and all the fucking...
Donnie, are you locked back in the gimp cellar again? I can hardly hear you. That's better.
That's shameless, by the way. Fucking touting for business like that.
Right, move on anyway. What about Ryan Garcia and Jason Velez? Do you think... What, Rob, we're not going down that angle. I'll come to you next. Let Donnie defend himself. No, seriously, Donnie, tell me about Ryan Garcia. Are you a fan or not?
Oh, I've been a fan
of pedos,
and then I think that, I mean, if you look at him, he's obviously so young. He's got a big frame on him. He's going to fill out that frame, and he doesn't seem to have a lot of power right now. But I think when he gets his, as Andy often says, when he grows up and gets his man strength about him, he could be a force. He's a good boxer, but he doesn't seem to have a lot of power. If he can fill out that frame and start knocking some guys out, he's going to really turn a lot of heads. And obviously, you know, he's I mean, you know, he's a fairly good-looking guy. He's got a lot of young girls coming to his fights or whatever. He could be a real commercial star in boxing if he can put the resume together that, you know, to go along with the following that he has. I mean, the thing is that in boxing, I mean, you can only milk the hype for so long. It's at some point you need to do something to justify that hype. He's still so early in his career and he's still so young, so it's going to be a while. But eventually, I mean, he'll get put in there against somebody good, and then we'll see what he's really made of. But for right now, I'm a tentative believer.
Okay.
We got Dublin in the house.
Yep, Dublin in the house. We're coming on to Rob right now. McKetch has been on. Another Dublin in the house, I think. Mr. McKetch, he said, I stayed up for Saunders Lemieux. Realised, after 5 rounds, Billy was going to win 12 rounds to 0. Thanks for that, McKetch. Rob, we've gone through quite a few things. We've had Danny Jacobs, we've had a bit of Magdaleno. What stuck out for you over the weekend?
Steve, what stuck out for me is that you're saying it from Dublin and you know it from Wexford, even though you normally call it Waterford. So,
apologies, Robert. Apologies.
Disappointed with that for a stat. No, I'm joking. I didn't see much boxing at the weekend because it was all about the football, baby.
Oh God, here we go.
Andy there or no?
I'm here, mate. On you go.
What are you joking about? No, I saw Jacobs. I saw Dogboe. What else did I see? I saw a lot of stuff. Well, yeah.
Give us a rundown then. What stuck out for you? Dogboe was impressive, wasn't he?
Yeah, the boys called it, didn't they? Like really called it. Like he's strong as knocks. Like, and how he got over that knockdown, I don't know. Like, he's definitely a tough guy. He's exciting. Like, so I'd like to see him in other matches. He just looked like he beat it out of Magdaleno last night, didn't he? Like, he just, by the end of it, it wasn't a quit, like, or whatever, but he just had nothing left, like. And it was one of those ones, like, where
he was raging after that stoppage as well. You could see he was fucking fuming, Magdaleno.
Oh, yeah, but like he could do nothing. Like, he just took a knee. He was like, I'm out of here. Like, this guy's.
The last one was low as well, wasn't it, Rob? I think he.
I was a wee bit. That was. You go back up off that, but I know what you mean. But that's what I'm saying. I like my fighters like that, a wee bit of viciousness, a wee bit of will, killer in him and stuff like that. That's what he is. He's no dirty fighter, but he's just a warrior.
Yeah, he's a buzzsaw, man. Like, he's just cutting through him last night. Like, so he was really impressive. Jacobs and Sileski. I don't know what the crack is with Jacobs. Like, I think he's a good middleweight who loses to Golovkin the next time out in a rematch, if there's a rematch, and probably loses to Billy Joe as well. I was a bit surprised at the success Sileski had coming off from 154. I think if he had more pop, he would have had Jacobs in trouble in certain parts of the fight. Jacobs started to take it over in the second half of the fight then, and obviously dropped him. But even after he got dropped, so like he was still trying to win the fight. Like, so he comes away with a lot of credit. Like, I don't know what it's out there for him at middleweight, but I wouldn't mind seeing him versus Spike O'Sullivan. I think that'd be a good fight. I don't know if anyone mentioned that. I don't know what the promotional situation is with that, but that'd be a fight.
Spike Lemieux, I think they're looking at, aren't they, Rob? I expect if Spike wins his fight next Friday night.
They got Lemieux, is it?
I think that's been mentioned, and that makes sense to me. It'll be an all-out war, wouldn't it?
That either, actually. It'd be a bit of a shootout. Like that. I wouldn't be mad at that, but I wouldn't mind seeing Sileski against one of these guys, one of these fringe middleweights again, just to see what he's like. Big Baby Miller, like, I think I was listening in there just before because he said he's over 300 pounds, like his knee, like so. What's Hearn doing, by the way? And we'll probably get to all this in Bellew or whatever, but what's Hearn at with this crack where he's saying they're chasing Wilder, but then yet he's on camera 2 days beforehand, shaking hands with Big Baby Miller, telling him that he's getting a matchroom check and he's going to be getting the next one as well. He's like, that fight, that's the next fight we're going to see. Like, I don't care.
Trying to say that Eddie's being dishonest here, Rob. Now, spit it out, please.
I think when you see him in panic mode like he's been in this week, it's obvious to everybody what's going on, isn't it? Like, he's protesting too much. You know what I mean? And
Eddie says that the Americans are bluffing, doesn't he? That's what he said.
Well, look at him. Look at his body language. He keeps looking to the right. And normally they say where people are looking to the left, rather. Normally they say people looking to the left or looking to their imagination, I think, because they're making up something. But,
look at Ozzy's photo of Frank Warren. He's looking off to the left. What does that tell you?
C.E. Bonus, right? You know, everybody believes that Eddie Hearn's a used car salesman, and that is what he is. He is the front man of all this charade at the minute. You know, everybody knows that Joshua is the man. He's like Floyd Mayweather. He's his own boss. Okay, he answers to no one by himself. Hearn's out there basically putting out fires, doing all the bullshit, being the front man, and that. At the end of the day, if he's going to accept the offer, it's down to Joshua at the end of the day. It's as simple as that. Eddie Hearn's got nothing to talk to do with anymore, I don't think. He's a useful person to go. He's a useful go-to guy, basically.
That's why I think it's worth keeping Eddie around for Joshua. I know a few people keep saying, "Oh, he's going to go out on his own, Joshua, and all that." But the fact that Eddie does this and he's a nice front and he organises everything, you'd keep Eddie around for 10-15% or whatever for that. I would anyway.
Well, there's that. I mean, he's got the team to deal with the bookings, the stadiums, the undercard. All the wee bits, you know, if you would probably need to bring in your own lawyers, your own events, your own security and that. You know, what's the point in doing that? Hearn's got the connections, he's got the business here already, he's got the staff, you know, so it makes sense of making out, as you say, what, 15-20%, maybe, you know, a wee slice off the top or whatever it is. You know, it's always good to have him around, the useful idiot, so to speak.
I think it's brilliant the way that he's had a complete meltdown over this offer. He can't make a fight, you know, he can't make a fight through Instagram. And look, it was your fighter that said in a YouTube interview, he said, "Give me the 50 million and we can fight tomorrow." Well, guess what? You got your bluff call. And well played, Shelly Finkel, in all this as well.
And then meanwhile, you got Dillian White melting down on fucking Instagram or Twitter and that, saying, "I'm #1 contender, bitch, you pussy cunt.
Pay attention to me, please."
Yeah, nobody cares about you. Like, who's clamoring for that fight? Like, let's not have Joshua Wilder. Give me Dillian White versus Wilder right now. Get out of here, like, will you? But no, I hope, like, yeah, I think he's in panic mode because he's been called, his bluff has after been called, and that's why he's saying to every single online journalist, this offers bullshit, this offers bullshit. But Shelly played a blinder this morning, didn't he? Like, that was a cracker.
Done well there, like.
Yeah.
Right. Why Hearn keeps calling Shelly Finkel Shirley Finkel?
Thinks he's being funny, doesn't he?
He's just a wank, you know.
And that's so unfunny.
With a totally straight face.
Soft ass shit, innit, Don?
Just bants, that's all it is, you know. But it's the AIDS end of the banter sphere, you know. It's just like, you know, it's like just AIDS. It's
yeah,
just
he's got such a petty side to him. Like last night, he was getting really bitter on one of these interviews where he said that the offer is bullshit. Like, but he started to get really bitter about the money that Wilder's earning, and started to really break down who in his team is getting what percent this, and like basically implying he's coming away with 60% of his money or whatever. But like really like trying to stick it to him, like it was just he's just a low life, like, and
you just never know. Maybe Wilder's willing to take the fucking short end of the stick, and just, you know, because he's that confident he's going to win the fight. I mean, a rematch he's going to make an absolute shit ton more if he actually knocks out Joshua.
1,000,000%, and I think he believes he's going to do it. Like, I think he's that, you know what I mean. That's the fight he wants. He's after fighting, his 40 or whatever he's on at the moment, like beat a lot of bad opposition, but he wants his chance.
I don't know how any heavyweight out there could watch the AJ versus Parker fight and not be licking their chops and think, you know what, this motherfucker is beatable. I think that a lot of heavyweights out there, Povetkin has to be thinking that. Tyson Fury is thinking that. Wilder is thinking that. They saw a guy who fucking can be hit and, who isn't as great as is advertised. I mean, he's got a huge target on his back. And I actually, I want to give credit to Joshua. I mean, you know what? Sometimes like heavy is the head that carries the crown, but he thus far he's taken on the challenges, he's taken the fights, and really this Wilder fight is the first time where you can say he hasn't fought the exact guy we wanted him to fight at the exact time we wanted him to fight him. This is the first time that we've been disappointed, but I mean, in reality though, it's I think that if you watch that fight with Parker, I think if you're a legitimate heavyweight out there, if you're a top 5, maybe top 10 heavyweight, I mean, you gotta look at that AJ Parker fight and go, you know what, I could beat this guy, because I think that's what you see.
I agree.
Go on, Dave.
No, nothing. I just agree with Donnie.
Thanks, Dave. Dave the Hater back there, everybody. He's on the panel still with Donnie. We've also got Andy, we've got Gabe, we've got Ozzy, Rob Kelly, me, Steve. We've got another, God knows how long to go. Let's get on to the previews for next week. Talking of the heavyweights, this is a contrived rematch that I have no interest in whatsoever. Tony Bellew against David Haye. Not really that interested in the first fight. I know they're trying to plug it. There's no real interest for this. I don't think people really want to see this, to be honest with you. I know I certainly don't want to see it. I think it's bollocks, and I hate both of them. I can't decide who I want to win.
And now that Golovkin Canelo got fucking killed or whatever, this is all we have. You're downing the only big fight that we have.
Well, we've got Golovkin Martirossi, and we will come on to that one as well. Obviously, we know about that. Donnie, I'm sorry, but I can't get excited about this. It's bullshit. I can't stand Bellew or Haye. I don't know who I want to win. I'm picking Bellew, actually, because I think Haye's body is going to give away again, and hopefully this will be the last we ever see of him. This is not a relevant heavyweight fight. These are not relevant heavyweights. This is a frigging circus act as far as I'm concerned. And the undercard, I'm going to give faint praise for the undercard, Dave. I'm coming to you, so get yourself ready. You've got Paul Butler against Emmanuel Rodriguez. You've got Martin J. Ward against James Tennyson. You've got John Ryder against Jamie Cox. You've got Lenroy Thomas against Joe Joyce. I'm looking forward to those fights. But you know why? The reason I think they've stacked the undercard with decent fights is because Eddie knows that the main event is a shit fest. He knows there's the potential for it to go belly up. There's the potential for Haye to break down again. This could go 2 rounds. This could be an absolute farcical event. And Eddie knows that. That's why he stacked the undercard as some kind of contingency plan so that the whole evening isn't wasted when people realise that they've been frigging anally invaded once again by this whole crowd. Hey to Dave, please take me.
Steve is raging, man. He's
give
raging.
Me something. Give me something positive, Dave, about this card. Please give me something positive.
Steve doesn't usually get that heated.
Well, the positive thing is if David Haye is broken, we get to see him lose again in embarrassing fashion. And hopefully his career's ended and he has to go out on a double loss to fucking Tony Bellew, of all people, former light heavyweight. That would be hilarious. And I hope that's the outcome that happens. I don't care if he's injured or not. If Haye does manage to pull off the win, well, then you get a loss for Bellew. So I guess you would enjoy that. I'm kind of a fan of Bellew. So I would much prefer to see him win. Although he does talk a lot of shit, so I don't. But no, yeah, that is the worst outcome though, because if Haye wins this fight, they're going to set up the trilogy. That's inevitable. So you really have to hope Bellew wins this because,
oh God,
because it's as much shit as he could talk. Imagine how the opportunity, the paydays, the time wasted we would see happen if Haye won and they had to talk up a third fight. It would be putrid. And if Bellew beats Haye again, then maybe we can see him. Then it's time for him to put up or shut up. He's been making some comments about these other cruiserweight fighters, and once in a while saying, "Oh, I could beat Usyk," and saying these sort of things. I think after Bradis, didn't he say he could beat either of them? So it's time for him to show us what he's got if he doesn't have anywhere else to go. And if he beats Hay, he doesn't have any further excuses.
Rob, I'm thinking that if Hay wins the fight, obviously it's an L for Eddie because he wants Bellew to win. Bellew, if Hay wins again, then we could see a third fight, which would be terrible. Even worse than that, Rob. If Hay wins, he becomes legitimate, doesn't he, in people's minds? You could just see it. Well, you never know. He still has the power. And then they'll be pushing him towards an Anthony Joshua fight. You never know. He could still just land and he becomes relevant again. I don't want him to become relevant against Rob. This cannot happen.
Stranger things will happen, dude. Like this fight, I wanted to end something like the end of Rocky 2, except neither of the two of them get up.
Double knockout. That would do me, mate.
That's the I love that fight to end. Like absolute shite. Like absolute shite. You see that? Gloves are off. Was out floating around on YouTube. Like there's not a bit of bad blood between these two. Not a bit of bad blood. This fight is, like you say, contrived. These two don't hate each other any more than Man in the Moon. They're laughing up each other's sleeves, or up their own sleeves rather, at all of us and the boxing public for this. This is a farce, like absolute farce. As I said before here about Tony Bellew, he called out David Hay and said he was conning the British public, and I was like, yeah, but you wanted in on it. You wanted in on the con, because here we are, Hay Bellew 2. I couldn't tell you which way this fight's going to go. I couldn't tell you, and I couldn't give a shit either which way it goes. I agree with what you're saying about Hay though. As soon as they be if Hay wins this fight, he'll be looking for Deontay Wilder one last payday. He'll be saying, "Oh, I did it to him in sparring, blah blah blah." He won't go looking for Fury or none of them, but he'll fancy a crack at Wilder for
the last thing to go is the power. The same lines.
You can just hear. You can hear the, like you said, you can nearly hear the commentary before it happens. And look, there's a good chance he could knock Bellew out. Like we've seen Bellew get his head bounced off the canvas before by Over McKenzie. Seen him kind of jack it against Stevenson for big punches. So like all this, all this shit that he's going on with, like, I have to be on my best game because I could leave in an ambulance and off with you. Like the two, just absolute shite, like shite.
Gabe, a lot of people are saying that Hay is the bigger, the stronger. He looks in good condition. He's the bigger puncher. If he lands on Bellew, it's all going to be over. But they were saying that before the first fight. Weren't they, Gabe?
Good. That's one less person to defend David Hay.
Do you think Gabe was going to defend him? Oh, here he goes.
What are you talking about, you bastards?
We're talking about Hay against Bellew, Gabe, and we're saying that Hay is going. A lot of people are saying that Hay is going to knock Bellew out, but they were saying all that before the first fight.
He's going to chin him. He's going to be in perfect health, and he's going to smash that son of a bitch to pieces. And you watch, and this is going to be the best pick I've made all year, and you're going to cry, and I'm going to laugh. That's what's going to happen. That's how it's going to be.
Wait, you're picking Hay, Gabe?
I'm picking Hay. I'm picking Hay by glorious knockout as well. It's going to be glorious when it happens.
Okay, short and sweet, Donnie. You've unsheathed yourself.
What happens is going to be vicious, mate.
He's got to be. That's what I was thinking. Tell me about the tactics, Donnie. For Bellew, he's obviously going to want to try and avoid the early rounds, keep it at length as best he can. Whenever Hay throws, he wants to try and tie up, I think, block the punches and try and take it late. What's the tactics for both guys?
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, this is a guy who. How many times has Hay fought in the last 3 years? I mean, what, 2?
About 3 times, huh?
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. And one of them was against that fucking guy. What the hell was his name? The one.
The 2 Dave fights against Demorian.
On the Dave Network, and he knocked him out in like 30 seconds.
Do they actually count as fights?
Yeah, that shouldn't even count as a fight. You're right. But I mean, yeah, the point is that look, Bellew, whatever you think about him, I mean, is he's a highly conditioned fighter who is still in his fighting prime, and Hay is shot and he's old and he has a lot of injuries or whatever. The clear idea is just to steer clear of his, big power punches early on, because that's Hay's only chance is to land something huge early that will, floor Bellew or whatever. I mean, but if he can steer clear of that and he just takes him to the late rounds, I mean, this guy is going to go, he's old and just like an old car or something that you drive down the road, you can drive it down the road 20 miles an hour or something, you might get to where you need to go, but at some point going to break down, and he will break down in rounds 9, 10, 11, 12, and that's where Bellew needs to get it, and Bellew's a smart fighter, and I think that he will get it done. I think that he'll do whatever needs to be done to get him out of there. And you know what? Hay may get injured again in the ring. I don't rule that out.
I think he will. I think third or fourth round, I could see like a shoulder going or something different from last time.
Something going. I mean,
or a bad cut, something like that.
Yeah, anything though. I mean, it could be anything, but it could happen again. And I think that, like, honestly, Hay really wants to get this payday, and so he wants this to happen. And so, I mean, as long as he gets in the ring and he's okay when he gets in the ring, he still gets paid. It doesn't matter if his shoulder breaks down or his elbow breaks down or he tears his bicep or this or that or he fucking tears his hamstring, whatever the fuck it is. He's still
gets a blister paid on his toe.
Yeah,
Imagine
no matter whatever happens, I mean, he's still getting paid either way. So all he needs to do, he needs to show up in that ring in okay condition, but he doesn't need to leave it in okay condition. And I could easily see something happening where, Bellew wins again by, TKO, with an asterisk for injury. But
yeah, go ahead, Rob.
Ends in some kind of controversy, like a clash of heads or a low blow or something.
I agree. Yeah.
But it'd be fucking. Imagine we have to do it again.
They couldn't. Surely they couldn't, could they?
Yeah.
They could. Andy, just talking about tactics there, Bellew. If you're Bellew, you want to be as much movement as possible around the ring. Get Hay chasing, turning on those knees, moving the body constantly. Whenever he lets the shots go, grab hold of him. Little punches to the side of the head, to the body. You want to be working Hay all the time, don't you?
Yeah, well, it's always been one of his main flaws, I suppose, but barring his injury record, has been his stamina, his tank. To be honest, I'm not really giving a shit. I will watch it, obviously, but I've not got a horse in the race. I long gave up on David Hay fucking years ago. Tony Bellew, well, we all know about that, but I'll probably say Bellew wins because simple fact, I don't trust David Hay. He put up all these videos. He's looking great in the gym. He's looking thin. Must admit, he's taken off a bit of weight. But he's the type of guy who could be, bouncing out to his ring walk music, and he pulls a hamstring or he pulls his Achilles, and that.
You can't glue the bones together, can you?
Exactly. You just don't know where he's at. Once the body starts breaking down and stuff, especially at your advanced age, mid to late 30s, your body's taking a lot of time to heal. You just think that Bellew, okay, he says he's fought injured before and that, but you just know both are in this just to kind of, get the pension pot, and that is their decision, end of the day, but just to sell me this shit. I mean, say Bellew ices him, where's he going to go next? Is he going to fight Joshua? Is he going to fight Wilder, Fury? Povetkin's going to fight these guys. Especially
that's why I called it a circus show and a freak show. It's almost like it's independent of the whole heavyweight division. You don't see any of these fighting the big guys, so that for me makes it just a cash grab. It's not relevant.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if this is both of their last fights. I wouldn't be surprised.
Go on, Donnie.
I was going to say, I think if Bellew wins this fight, I think he retires.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. What about you, Ozzy? Obviously looking ahead.
A wonderful career of commentary at Sky Sports. I mean,
oh God, don't even say that. That's another thing in itself.
Carol Throckmorton Commons next week, baby. EDL loyal.
Oh my God. Matthew Macklin giving a load of freaking 10-10 rounds. I'd love to say to Macklin, go back through your career, Matt. Have a look at some of the scores in your fights and see how many 10-10 rounds people were scoring in favour of you, Ozzy. Sorry about that tangent. Go back to Bellew-HAYE.
If Hayes fit, he'll win. It's simple as, look at the last fight. He was carrying an injury, and before the Achilles actually went, he was winning. And he looked awful as well. Now, one thing that stood out for me was that Bellew was saying after the fight was that he felt he couldn't go much longer taking the shots of Hay. Now, this was Hay essentially on one leg. He couldn't plant his feet or anything like that. And I just think Hay's going to come in a lot leaner. I think he'll be quicker. I think we'll only know if his body can hold up literally when he's in the ring. Realistically, I think we all saw what he looked like at the weigh-in last time. He looked great, but then in reality, it was a hobble. And I know there was money in the fight, but I want to know why he was allowed to get in the ring when he wasn't fit. I think that's poor from the board. I don't care how much cash is on the line. If that's the case, then there's a lot more that affects it. Like bookies and things like that. He wasn't fit. The fight shouldn't have been allowed to go ahead. It's simple as. But I don't rate Bellew at all. I think he's got a loud mouth. Every belt he wins is vacant. He contradicts everybody. He said there was no money in the cruiserweight division. Now he wants back in. Feels he can go and beat Usyk or Garcia. Those two guys would absolutely destroy him. Just wipe the floor with him, and then they could go and box somebody else as well. It'd be so one-sided. And I agree. I think the loser will retire, and I think if Bellew wins, I think he'll retire as well. He's mentioned it more and more often now that he's just happy to get out of the ring safe, etc., things like that. And I don't really see what else is there for him. He's openly... The one fight he will try and talk up, actually, will be Tyson Fury. That will be the only fight he will try and talk up. He was doing it a few weeks ago. Oh, I'll fight Fury. Come on, the big man. I'll take him on. He doesn't want any part of Joshua. So it's a case of, for me, if he beats Hay, it'll be Fury or bust. If Hay does beat him, which I think he will do, who knows what the Sky bandwagon will do. I've no idea what they'll try. Put him in with or something like that. I've no idea. I know Hay's doing it for the cash, as is Bellew, really. But it's a circus act. It's a rematch no one wants to see. I had a look on the website, actually, and the tickets. There's loads available, so it'd be interesting to see what it's like, because I don't know if people have got the trust in Hay. I mean, we're going into fight week now, which, all fingers crossed, he should be absolutely fine.
It's already been rescheduled as well, has it?
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's been rescheduled since, hasn't it? So whether people just thought, "Fuck this, I've had enough," and we'll give him back. But no, I'm going with Hay, and I think he'll stop him. I think the fact that Bellew was saying in the first fight that he felt he couldn't take those shots anymore, and for me, before the injury, he was losing, and Hay looked awful, but Bellew was losing the fight. And this was Hay who, like I said, was just gung-ho, no tactics, nothing. And he was rounds ahead. And I'm looking at the scorecards now, and bear in mind, Hay was fucked. What was it? Was it round 6? And he got stopped in round 11.
Yeah.
All three judges had Bellew up by 3 rounds.
That's right, yeah.
And this was Hay on just one leg. He couldn't walk. He couldn't do anything. And there was a knockdown in 6 as well, which is give him a 2-point round. So score it as, as like the usual 1 point. He's a point behind then. So for me, I think Hay will have too much for him. I really do. And if his body can hold up, I expect him to stop him.
Ozzy, quick word on the undercard. I know you will have some interest in the domestic fights like me. I'm thinking if Emmanuel Rodriguez is anything he's cracked up to be, he will get past Paul Butler, although obviously Eddie's probably wanting Butler to win that so he can keep manoeuvring around the McDonald-Burnett situation. Excuse me. James Tennyson definitely has a puncher's chance against Martin Ward, but Ward you could see having the skills and the ability to keep him off him for large periods. John Ryder, we all agreed. I think he'll stop Cox late on. And who else? Lenroy Thomas. He's got a lot more experience than Joe Joyce. I'm not sold on Joyce, but obviously Thomas isn't being bought in to win. You got Willie Hutchinson, this Michael Page character, Jordan Gill, Joshua Buatsi. Buatsi never seems to have an opponent for some reason up until the last few days, unless they have somebody in the pipeline.
That's pissing me off. I mean, everybody knows I'm a Buatsi fan, but come on, man. He's an ex-Olympian. Get the guy fucking pushed out a bit. I mean, he gave like O'Hara Davis a big push. He gave him a top billing against, who was it? Derry Matthews, I think it might have been, or Scarpa. Or
Scarpa, yeah.
Come on, man.
I agree with that, it's pissing me off that Josh Taylor. But obviously, we've just seen he's been put in with Victor Postal, and his career is a prime example of the promoters and management knowing his ability and matching him perfectly. They've not fucked around with any garbage. Yeah, I understand, like he went to America and boxed a pudding, but he's the only guy who didn't stop, actually, and it was an experience of going abroad, etc., things like that. But then his fights on the way up have been superb, starting with Dave Ryan and things like that. And then you look at the other Olympians and you just think, what is the point? These guys have boxed at a serious level. What is the point in bringing these people in who they will knock over in 3 rounds? Hearn said Buatsi was going to get a step up. Well, Mr. TBA is back in the ring again We know he's evident reliable, so we know what he's going to do. But it's a joke. I think George Joyce will stop. Lemroy Thomas is shit. The guy pinched a close decision against Dave Allen. Now, Dave Allen's Central Area level, something like that, English level at best. Joyce will stop the guy in 3 rounds tops. He'll annihilate him, and then I think Joyce is a great example. Commonwealth belt, 4th fight in. They will then look to move him on again. They're not hanging around because they've not got the time, but they're backing his ability as well. I can't see him going for the British. They'll probably go for one above that. They've tried to get Hellenius. They've looked at other people on that level. Marius Wack, they've turned it down. So I think that shows that they fancy him to beat Thomas. I think John Ryder will beat Jamie Cox. I don't think he'll stop him. I think he'll box to a relatively wide decision, to be honest. I'm not sold on Cox, to be honest, and I wouldn't be shocked actually if Cox starts to get pissed off and starts to throw that head in again and
the low blows.
Yeah, I was going to say he's no stranger to that, and we've seen that if Jamie Cox gets riled, he doesn't care. We saw it against Lewis Taylor. I mentioned this before, that he wasn't having it his own way, and like I said, he bores that head in and stuff like that. John's been there, seen it, done it. He's dealt with better people, better than Jamie Cox, so I think he'll beat him. Ward, Tennyson, good fight, great fight, European title. Don't care about the WBA belt. Tennyson definitely a puncher's chance. Ward's hit the deck before against lesser punchers like Ronnie Clark, but I do rate Ward. I really like this guy. I think he's got very, very good skills, and I think he'll just have a bit too much for Tennyson, perhaps. And Butler Rodriguez, I haven't seen much of this Rodriguez whatsoever, but one thing I take from it is that it's interesting that Burnett decided to vacate the IBF belt over the WBA. So whether that was a case of that the WBA was a softer mandatory, I don't know. Butler's, we've seen that when he stepped up to someone of Tete's level, he was well and truly outclassed. His best wins are Stuart Hall ×2. I mean, Butler's got a shot, which, in my opinion, he doesn't deserve. But we all know what'll happen. But if Butler wins, then they'll put Matthew Muller, unify the belts between Butler and Burnett. I've no idea. I wouldn't be shocked. Rodriguez is the heavy betting favourite, which the bookies do get it wrong. But in my opinion, it's worth something. But overall, this is a decent card. This is a very good card, and it just sets the precedence now that the Bellew-HAYE fight is expensive to make, and the fights underneath are very good and competitive. So moving forward, this is what every pay-per-view card should be like.
What about my assertion, Ozzy, about it being a contingency plan for the main event being a shitfest?
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can agree with that, definitely. Which is interesting. Usually Hearn doesn't care about things like that, but he's obviously got some sort of worry or something. But it's interesting that Haymaker are also involved in this card as well, because they tried to get Derek Chisora, Carlos Takam on this card, and David Hay said no. Chisora boxes Joe Joyce or nobody, and he's not coming on the card. And he's had his he's stayed firm, and Chisora's not on there. So that's interesting. But no, the card's good. I don't see what anybody else can expect. I think it's decent. The good domestic fights. The main event's garbage, but it is what it is.
It is certainly. Friend of the pod, Judy Fitzgerald's tweeting out, the best thing a woman can wear is a smile, says Judy. She's selling dental braces, Donnie, over on Instagram. Get on it. You're retweeting that, aren't you, Rob?
Oh, big time, man. Big time. I'm on a Judy bandwagon. Look at MJP for me.
Right, Donnie, go ahead.
MGP, did anybody see that the tweets getting sent out last night and that about somebody like sending in questions that she was doing a live show on Instagram or whatever, and somebody says, I would suck her boyfriend's cock just to see what she tasted like. You know, I was like, oh my fucking word, man.
Wait,
the thing is, would you suck Billy Joe Saunders' cock right now?
Donnie, I don't expect you to answer that. Let's move on to a potential future opponent for Billy Joe Saunders, actually. Gennady Golovkin against Vanas Martirosyan. Yeah, we were talking about Celia Brackhurst earlier, actually. She's the only real thing of interest on the undercard. I know that Chocolatito was supposed to be on there, Donnie, against Pedro Guevara. That's off now. Ryan Martin, I'm a fan of his. He's fighting Bradis Prescott. The undercard's dog shit, to be honest. What about the main event? Marty Rossian, could they have got a better opponent, Donnie, or is this the best you can hope for?
Part of me wishes that they got a better opponent. The realist in me says that when you've got 4 to 5 weeks, you don't go and schedule Charlo as your opponent because that's the type of guy. In other words, you got a game plan for somebody, and your training camp is going to be geared around fighting a certain type of fighter. And when the fighter that you've been game planning around, ends up popping for PEDs, it's not your fault. And I just wish that it was something better than this. This is such garbage, and the real shame of it is too. And I don't know how big. I don't think this is as big in the United Kingdom, but the first Saturday in May is like a huge sports weekend in the United States. I mean, in the afternoon you've got the Kentucky Derby, and then in the evening time, you've got the biggest fight of the year usually. And in this case, we don't. We have nothing, and and to make matters worse, the best thing we have on foreign shores is BELLEW-HAYE.
I would like to apologise, Donnie, on behalf of fight fans over here.
Yeah. It's like even the United Kingdom couldn't save us. We're stuck with horrific fights. And it's just, it's such a kick in the dick for boxing because normally, that Kentucky Derby, Cinco de Mayo weekend, right, is like the best sports weekend. I mean, normally you've got the Kentucky Derby in the afternoon, you've got this big fight at night, and, now it's just like there's such a gaping hole there. And because it happened so close in proximity, time-wise, to the fight itself, that there wasn't any time to salvage another good event out of it. And so that's what we're left with. Marta Rosian, he hasn't fought in 2 years. He was Bellew of the Week about 3 weeks ago, before any of this happened, when Marta Rosian said that Don King was the greatest promoter ever, and Don King hadn't gotten him a fight in 2 years. And he was a Bellew of the Week nominee for that tweet. And this is fucking garbage, man. I'm not gonna go into the breakdown of the fight and like how do I think it's gonna go, because we all know how it's gonna go. We all know how it's gonna go. What a waste of time. What a waste of money. Anybody who goes and buys tickets to this fight, all right, well, maybe you're looking for a good night out, but what an idiot. This is I'm so this whole weekend just makes me absolutely disgusted with this sport.
Well, yeah, thanks, Donnie. For me, Andy, where do you go from there? Like we had Hey to Dave at one level, Donnie's taken us down another notch. It's Suicide Alley over in friggin' America at the moment.
We need to go down the route of Canelo. Obviously, this hair test is apparently pro.
What's this all about?
Well, I haven't really followed it up, actually. I've been really busy this week, so I haven't really been looking at it. So this apparently exonerates him from actual cheating, apparently.
Something to do with hair colour or something?
I fucking wish. I just wish. Obviously, the Irish will claim a fucking doorknob and that. Fucking, he's part of them. He obviously loves the drugs and that. But, I'm joking, but see, at the end of the day, I don't care about the hair test as such. Okay, it apparently proves that he hasn't cheated on this occasion, or he's not a cheat. But why is he failing drugs tests? I can't believe people who actually celebrate the guy having a draw against Golovkin, and then fucking celebrate this as the fucking victory. The guy got caught with apparently the one organisation that people believe is meant to be the gold standard, which we've discovered it isn't. But come on, you look at the size of the guy, you look at how many times he's had to cut weight to make weight for like 155, 152 for Floyd and that. There's no debate. Okay, I'm not probably arguing against science here. It's like Gil Grissom at the end of the day. Gil Grissom
the hair test does not exonerate.
Exactly, it's not conclusive.
Let me just explain why, though, because the thing is that, look, He took it 2 months after he tested positive. What was it? I think February 20th or somewhere around there.
Late March, was it?
No. He tested positive in February. I know that much.
No, I'm talking about the hair test was taken late March.
Okay, yeah, but what I'm saying is that he could have been cycling off at the very end of the whatever. So basically, he could have done it several months ago. So yes, the hair test does go back several months, and if you just had a little bit of an accidental contamination, then it wouldn't show up in your hair. So it could have been the fact that he only had the meat, and that was like the one time, and that's why it showed up. Or it could be the fact that he did it several months ago, and by the time he took the hair test, it had cycled out. So, I mean, nobody really knows.
It was March the 29th, Donnie, sorry.
Well,
yeah. So what I'm saying is that I mean, Canelo has an argument. Like, it makes him look more innocent. I'll give him that. Like, definitely, like, it's an argument that he has, but it doesn't exonerate him from guilt, in my opinion. I mean, it just makes him look a little bit more credible about the meat, but it doesn't absolutely exonerate him. And like Andy just said, when you look at this fucking guy, I mean, just look at the pictures. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. I mean, look at the fucking pictures from 2 years ago when he was weighing in at 154, 152 for Floyd or whatever, and look at the way that he looks now. I mean, you know, he's a beast. I mean, he obviously put on shit tons of muscle, and he put on what bodybuilders would call clean muscle, right? He seemingly put on all this muscle without a fucking single ounce of fat, right? That's hard to do. That's a really hard thing to do. And the body transformation that he has undergone is phenomenal. And I think a lot of highly conditioned athletes would be very envious of the kind of recomposition of his body that he has done. And I mean, when you see that he's tested positive for PEDs, it kind of makes sense.
I'm not saying he's actually innocent. I'm not saying absolutely fully that he's guilty. He is guilty. I mean, I've said before, Contador got done for less trace amounts of what Canelo got done for. Maybe it was a dodgy meat, but the thing is, we kind of keep using the same excuse about the meat. We all know about the meat. Okay, it might not be fair to say to these guys in these countries who've got meat that's infected or injected with this stuff, but at the end of the day, you fucking know. And you know what this stuff can do, so you can't keep using it as an excuse. The drug testing authorities must say to them, look, you need to get your meat from elsewhere. I mean, how often do we see fighters actually getting, they go to these companies and get their food brought in and stuff like that? That's what these top guys are doing. You can't tell me, that a Mexican superstar who's got all this money goes to a restaurant knowing he eats meat. Oh shit, that might be contaminated. You can't keep using the same shit, and it's just I find that appalling. I find it offensive actually that some of these people, going about Mexicans, believe it or not, I think treating this as like some sort of victory, because his hair test proved he never did cheat. Listen, he failed a drugs test, so if you're going to tell me that this guy is clean, he was innocent, then okay, that being the case, he has now put himself out there as the gold standard. Everybody who fails a drugs test has got to use hair testing because if Fury did it, Fury could prove example what drugs he'd taken. Joshua could do it. All these guys, Luis Neri, Guillermo Jones, all these guys, put your hair up for testing, see where we're at. In fact, see where we're at it. You should make it part of your VADA testing protocol that everybody must give a hair sample to prove that they're not cheating. And then we can actually just, end it straight away. Okay, this was cross-contamination. This guy wasn't cheating. So every drug test should involve a hair sample now.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, they absolutely should. And, yeah, I mean, like in other words, why is that a secondary test that you go to sort of try to further prove your innocence? In other words, that should be part of the whole thing. And I mean, it's not even that hard. I mean, they sell these kits online, for parents, right, who suspect that their kids may be on drugs or whatever. And so you could go into your kid's hairbrush and you can take a follicle of their hair and find out whether or not they're on drugs. I mean, they sell this to people, on television. I mean, it's not that hard. It's a simple test, and it comes back in a couple of weeks. That should be part of the VADA protocol. I 100% agree.
I think Paulie Malignaggi made some good points about it when he says, as much as they get fed up with Paulie, we've kind of had an oversaturation of Malignaggi for the last few years, like especially with his podcast and his video appearances and his McGregor shit. But he's always interesting when it comes to talking about the doping, I think. And he said that they caught him because he didn't expect him. He was cycling it out, like Donnie said, he was cycling out of the system, and they caught him because he wasn't expecting him to pop up in Mexico. Now, you know, it could be in line with the fact that he was eating contaminated meat, or it could be in line with the fact that he's cycling out or whatever. And somebody, I think in the chat alluded to, we won't say who, just in case, said if you believe in conspiracies, then you know that's why Joshua's not going to take Wilder next, because he'd have to enroll in the WBC program. So give him a couple of months to get rid of that. Allegedly.
Right, yeah, because anybody who challenges for the WBC title has to enroll in VADA. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, but it's no 24/7. It's no 365. You know, this is the problem.
If you're fighting for a title, you have to sign up straight away for the 365.
Yeah, well,
you got to sign up for it. You got to sign the paper. But you know, the testing, I believe, isn't happening until the fight's actually signed. So that's bollocks. You know.
And as well, Donnie, I know that WBC put out a list of fighters who hadn't signed up this week, but that was disingenuous because some of that, you know, weren't being offered, and others were fighting for different titles.
I think we were talking about this. I was talking about it anyways earlier in the week, but you know what fucking kills me, and we'll get to this in the belly of the week later. But like when Canelo's positive test first came out, Mauricio Suleiman said, you know, obviously it was contaminated meat because Canelo Alvarez has been enrolled in the clean boxing program, the CBP, VADA, 365.
Hadn't they been?
He's been enrolled in it for years, right? And at first, people believed that, right? And then, after that happened, the LA Times, Lance Pugmire of the Los Angeles Times, actually did some digging, and he asked, Margaret Goodman, Dr. Margaret Goodman of the VADA. He said, "Is Canelo Alvarez enrolled in your program?" And she said, "No." And then he had to come out and say, "Oh, actually, no, Canelo isn't enrolled in the clean boxing program or whatever." So,
when I said yes, I accidentally meant no.
Well, I mean, he's been enrolled for years. I mean, he's not enrolled at all. Like, what a fucking joke. And obviously, look, he's not in. The real thing of it is like, look, they got this clean boxing program, and I believe that they enforce it for everybody that they can enforce it on. But there are some people who generate a certain amount of money and who have a certain amount of clout that if they don't want to enroll or whatever, or they don't want to be tested at a particular time, they don't have to be. And the WBC will totally accommodate them because they are the rainmakers.
They're the sluts. That's what's wrong.
Yeah, and then, exactly. And they're the people. Well, you know what though, is that I think what happened with the WBC is that actually, from what I've been told by a lot of people, I was told early on that Mauricio Suleiman was totally unlike his father, that he really, really, believed in, like, he wanted to make the WBC the best organization out there. And I heard this from a couple of people who I really trust, who, I have a couple of connections in the boxing community, and they really like the guy, right? But I think what really happened was, I think that they tried to be the agent of action with the Golovkin Canelo fight, right, and make it a mandatory. And they're like, the WBC is going to be the organization that makes this great fight happen. And then, Canelo dropped the belt and everything, and they lost a lot of money because Canelo didn't fight for the WBC belt, right? And all of that stuff happened. And I think what happened is that they realized that, you know what, sometimes you have to deal with the devil to make things happen. And I think that was a real turning point. And I think now, the clean boxing program is kind of a load of bullshit.
The only fighter I could safely say that's maybe been clean through his career would be Donnie. Donnie was one of the fighters. Donnie was one of the fighters who went into the VADA testing system early doors. So he went up through the ranks. Now, I would say that, hand on heart, I would say is if there's anybody who's clean or proven to be clean and achieved what he achieved, would be Donnie.
See about the WBC list. I know it contains fighters who aren't enrolled in it because they're not necessarily fighting for WBC titles. But out of the fighters not enrolled, there's AJ, Canelo,
Hay,
Errol Spence, David Hay, and Lomachenko. Now, I've never had suspicions about Lomachenko, but I could not say the same about the rest on that list. And I'm a big Spence fan, but Jesus.
Just to be fair, Rob, I agree with you 100%. But I think, as I told you before, in order to be enrolled in that program, right?
No, I understand. No, I completely understand.
You need to either be a WBC champion.
No, I understand, dude. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Out of the fighters that are on that list, they are out of all of them, the ones that I don't have suspicion.
There's a lot of highly suspect characters on that list. Yeah, no, I understand.
Right, let's move on. I'm blaming the Russians. Gabe, tell me about this Motorosian fight. Is it even going to go 6 rounds or what?
No, it's not. And if it does, it'll be a miracle. And if it does, it'll only be because Martirosyan does what he always does when he gets in a big-time fight. Absolutely fuck all nothing. Going back to some of his fights where he's had a chance at a title, he had 2 shots at Erislandy Lara, and those fights were horrible. The first one, I believe it was, got stopped on a pretty bad cut. But he simply lost because he did nothing. He didn't throw punches. He did nothing. Whenever you do less than Erislandy Lara, then you have a real fucking issue. I mean, I'll put it that way, point blank. I know a lot of people have voiced their displeasure with the way that Erislandy Lara fights a lot of times, and that is absolutely terrible if he outworks you. The second fight that I think they had a rematch. And in that one, it was equally horrible. Looking back at some of his other fights when he's fighting low-level competition and he actually fights, he can do well. He's not a world-class number 1 top guy, but he's a guy that should have at some point won a world championship for whatever that's worth. He's a guy that just whenever the lights are the brightest, he doesn't perform. And so it's going to be more of the same. He's going to go in tentatively and probably last for a few rounds just because Triple G has some issues with catching him. That'll be the only thing that happens. That's only a possibility. The other possibility is that Triple G goes in pissed off because of the circumstances that he's had to deal with all this bullshit, and goes in with a fucking fury and just destroys the guy inside of a round or 2. But I think it will go a few rounds before Triple G just crushes him, and that's like I said, I think that's got more to do with Martirosyan just going to look like crap. He's been out of the ring for so long. And he's not that good either. I'm not trying to trash the guy completely. But he's just really not that good to have me thinking that he's going to pose any problems in any shape, size, form, or fashion. On the offhand chance that he does do anything good, I'll be completely shocked. But no, I don't see this one even going the distance or 7 or 8 rounds.
Yeah, I think 6 rounds is a bit ambitious. Ozzy, final word to you before we get on to Bellew of the Week. It's all about self-preservation for Triple G now. Obviously, for Canelo coming back in September, they want the big money rematch. Do you think that Martirosyan is the best of a bad bunch? Should Golovkin have fought someone else? Should he have not fought at all? Where do you stand on it?
Well, he shouldn't have fought at all, to be honest. If it was going to be somebody of this caliber, what's the point? I mean, they were talking up Spike or Sullivan. Would that have been a better option? Probably.
I think so now, yeah.
The only reason I don't think so is because Spike O'Sullivan is so tough that I think he would get hurt.
At least he's active, though. Fuck me. It's one thing that it comes into consideration, but it's awful. Golovkin deserves all the dislike he gets for this. Fully deserved. It's an appalling fight.
Well, who was he supposed to fight, Ozzy? I mean, he had a fucking 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, who the fuck's he gonna fight?
They fucked around for ages, didn't they? They could have got O'Sullivan. They could have got O'Sullivan.
Well, wait, but I mean, honestly though, I mean, in all seriousness, if he fought O'Sullivan, I mean, you could say whatever you want about him, but he's tough and he'll stay in there or whatever. I mean, that would be brutal. I mean, that would be like, I mean, that should be criminalized, the kind of beating that he would take.
But what's wrong with that? That's what the sport is. Hit and don't get hit.
Yeah, but I don't want to see somebody get killed.
Well, you'd hope for then a decent referee to stop in and put that to an end. They could have called in the IBF mandatory. They were quite open.
Derevchenko, yeah. Well,
yeah, he was open in saying that, and for me,
you can make an argument for that. I think. I mean, the thing is, like I said, he made a game plan for Canelo.
Yeah,
his camp was geared towards fighting Canelo. He saw the way he fought in the last fight or whatever, and so it was geared towards that. Could he have fought Derevchenko? Yes, he could have. But I think at 34, 35 years old, you don't take fights with a guy like Derevchenko on 4 weeks' notice. I think that's the type of guy that could. I mean, and maybe this is like a criticism of Golovkin, but I mean, but you don't take fights against somebody that's dangerous like that on 4 weeks' notice.
Well, here's a question for you, Ozzy. Say on Friday night, if Gary Spike O'Sullivan was fighting Marty Rossi and up at middleweight, who would win out of them two?
I would think Spike. I would probably back Spike. I think purely on this guy's not boxed in what 2 years, over 2 years now. I think you've just got to go with. I think you've got to go with. I'll probably side with Spike. I actually think it would be relatively. I don't think it'd be the worst fight, to be honest. Like Gabe said, he's at the lower levels. He's done and he's had success and things like that. When he's stepped up to like world level, he's fallen short. Now, O'Sullivan it'd be like a European level, at fringe world level. And I don't really rate Spike whatsoever. But his game as they come, he had a good win last time out, and he's active, and I think that would get him through the fight if it was with Varnes. But that's not the fight. It's with Golovkin. I don't think the fight will go 4 rounds. I think they've carried on to box because at Golovkin's age, I don't think they can afford to waste essentially a full training camp just for it to do nothing. I think they'll do it just to get out there, and then they'll go straight back into camp. And we all know what fight date will be announced soon, and that's going to be Golovkin Canelo in probably September.
Mm.
Well, I'm kind of wondering though. I mean, at the end of all of this, is Golovkin actually the biggest loser here? Because when he fights him now in September, I mean, he's older. He's got a lot of miles on the clock.
Oh, yeah, of course he is, yeah.
Yeah, he's had over 400 amateur fights. Is the fact that the fight, Golovkin-Canelo, taking place in September, is that actually going to benefit Canelo? Because, I mean, and I know it's fucked up to think about this, but the fact that the fight can't take place now because of the drug test or whatever, but the fact that it's going to take place in September, it may actually benefit Canelo because he may get a version of Golovkin that's a little bit slower.
Yeah, Golovkin needs this ASAP, doesn't he?
Pardon?
Golovkin needs this fight as soon as possible. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. The fucking clock is ticking, and I think that actually Canelo may stand a better chance of winning that fight because of the fact that it's being delayed.
No, you're 100% right, Donnie. The clock is ticking. Let's get on with it, Bellew the weeks, and let's get out of here. Getting stuck straight in even. We've lost Hay to Dave Loback, unfortunately. I hope he's still alive. Pray for Dave. That'll be trending soon. Danny Flexen has sent in the first nomination that I have. Will Sykes, the Krispy Kreme King, has tweeted. He said, unbelievable night watching a sharp Amir King Khan make his return, but overshadowed by me finally seeing this legend live at Michael Buffer. All right, then. Giancarlo was having a go at Eddie Hearn.
What's you think about that?
Good one, Donnie. Good one. Giancarlo was talking about Khan against Brook. He said, since Khan versus Brook fight isn't signed, Brook won't be allowed to get into the ring, right? That's the rule, isn't it? And Eddie Hearn said, correct. Of course, Eddie went completely back on this, and Kell Brook got into the ring, and we all know what happened next. Eddie doesn't care. Eddie doesn't let the truth get in the way of a good story. Ryan Garcia, we were discussing him earlier. He said, I don't know, Triple G coach was so salty towards me. Luckily, I cut out salt. Crystal Medina said, he probably just scared that you'll beat the hell out of Triple G. Yeah, like that's going to happen anytime soon. Charlie BR28 nominated that one. Andy Patterson of this parish was nominating Adam Stewart. Andy, for those giving Eddie Hearn shit, says Adam, look at the Vasyl Lomachenko versus Jorge Linares fight on May 12th. Currently, Top Rank Boxing have announced 0 undercard fights, and Michael Conlon jumped in, Andy. And what happened? I think the whole undercard has been sorted.
So, and I also met Top Rank actually got involved as well and says, here's your undercard, and said offender didn't even respond. Wonder why.
Adam Stewart, 1980, a bot potential?
Definitely team mismatch room.
Matchroom FC, as Ozzy would say. Right, Jed Panther has nominated Itkfar Ahmed on the Boxing Legion. Ahmed said, does Vanis Martirosyan have any chance against Triple G? And then he put up a picture of Bradley Skeet. I know sure as hell Bradley Skeet doesn't. This is a good one. 13 Mike Boxing, amongst many other people, sent this to me. Mauricio Suleiman has got involved with the Triple G versus Martirosyan fight, and he's created a belt. Donnie, what about this belt? The Zeltal belt is available now for Triple G versus Vanes. Donnie, what about this?
I think we should create a belt. No,
I actually thought that too, yeah.
I think the Asylum should create a belt because, you know what? I mean, if the WBC has proved anything, it's that you can get somebody to pay something for a complete bauble. So I think that we really need to start sanctioning some fights. We could potentially, I mean, you know, if we did better than 100 pounds or whatever, we could, you know, we could make some money. I think it's time for us to take the next step. We need to start becoming a sanctioning body.
If any of our listeners then don't need the engraving business, we need to get a Bellew of the Week belt going.
I agree with that. And Donnie's also the lawyer, so he can go and do the Panama Papers for us. He can go to the British Virgin Islands, get the shell company sorted out. Hey, Donnie, get us sorted.
I think Prince Patel would happily box for one of those belts to be another one of his ranks, wouldn't it?
What do they call it? They're calling that WBC belt the belt of heroes. Yeah, because the WBC is full of heroes. They backed there publicly for the opponent is going to win this belt, and basically said that he's never done a thing wrong in his life before.
And they beat ISIS as well, you know.
Yeah, heroes belt that Vince Matriosa is fighting for. Come on, like.
WBC, we be crooks. Simon Olavia has nominated Craig Richardson for Mike Tyson comments. He was talking about Tyson's rape convictions in association with Joshua not getting into America. Chris Tricker was talking about Wilder. He said, laugh my ass off.
They cut you off there.
No, go ahead.
Hasn't Joshua been over in America? Isn't there like footage of him walking around the Mayweather?
Well, you see, we don't know actually, Rob, because some people say he has, and others said that he hasn't.
Gym. He's definitely in the Mayweather gym with Floyd in some video somewhere.
So this isn't an issue.
I don't think so, dude. No.
I'm not sure because I agree with you. I thought that I'd seen him, but then other people said he hasn't, so we just don't know. Chris Tricker said, laugh my ass off. Isn't Wilder's biggest purse like 1.5 million? More people in the US know AJ than they do Wilder, and he has never even fought there. The UK is the face of boxing now. Baby boy Miller is better than Wilder, says Chris Tricker. Niall O'Connor has nominated David, Sky Sports Boxing, in fact, for saying about the ring return. David Price insists defeat to Alexander Povetkin can be the catalyst for a successful final career chapter as he pencils in his July return. This is some final career chapter that Price is on at the moment. Leonard Ellaby has been nominated by Turbo Jackson. Nomination for Leonard Ellaby, says Turbo. Adonis Superwoman ain't the best light heavyweight in the division, Sunshine. That's what Leonard Ellaby says. He's calling Adonis the best in the division. We don't know about that now. Welsh Chief, if I remember right, the Lomachenko fight was not at all one-sided. I said a couple of weeks ago after the Povetkin fight, David Price versus Fury is a 50-50 in my opinion, says Glenn Bunyan, the Welsh Chief. Michael Pengelly has nominated him for that. James Bernard has sent in a question. We'll get to that next week, James. Leon has nominated The Uppercut. They were disputing whether Matchroom or the #1 boxing promotional company. Nah, little man, says Uppercut. It's great supporting a successful business like Matchroom. They are boxing, says The Uppercut. This is a good one. I like this one from QWERTY5. Apparently last night, IFL TV had a show on YouTube. I actually watched a little bit of this myself. The co-commentator in the Khan versus Cummings fight on the stream for the IFL, as the two fighters came out in the first round, the co-commentator said a lot of Cummings' height is in his neck, which could be a problem for him. What is he, says QWERTY5, a fucking giraffe? So a lot of his height is in his neck, according to the co-commentator, although Joe O'Neill later put up a picture of this said individual, Mr. Cummings, and indeed there was a lot of height in his neck, so there's some truth to be told, but I enjoyed that one from QWERTY5. Clarissa Shields, she has been nominated in the past. Mike 13 Mike Boxing has nominated her this time. £304, says Clarissa, slipping punches like Muhammad Ali. Yes, I said it. Big Baby Miller on HBO Boxing. She's a walking hell machine, she is. Ganesh has nominated Jim Lampley. He said, Jarrell Miller might be as high as the third best heavyweight in the world. He shares the same promoter as Anthony Joshua. And Mohamed Mir has nominated The Boxing Voice. 1 for this Wilder fanboy interviewer, and 2 for Eddie Hearn, stating that AJ versus Wilder does the same, if not more dollars than Lennox versus Tyson. Humble Mike has nominated Retail Genius. Retail Genius was enjoying the bants from Eddie Hearn. Number 1, he renames Shelley Finkel to Shirley Winkle. Number 2, he smokes out Wilder's fake offer. Number 3, lets Wilder know he's earning peanuts compared to Joshua, in case he didn't know already. And number 4, continues the quest across the pond. Big fan of Matchroom, is Retail Genius. Nathan Farrell has been nominated by somebody, I can't remember your name, sorry, for saying that Anthony Fowler has had a well-deserved break. He's the next Ricky Hatton. This was a good one. I noticed, who is it? Ainsley was putting this up earlier from this Dr. R. Thief Daniel. I think we saw this one in the chat, Andy. Thanks be to God, says Daniel. Delighted to announce I am now the RBO Intercontinental Champion. My first professional title and belt, and God willing, the first of many. Thanks to all my team, family, friends and supporters, and also to my amazing sponsors. Hashtag man down. Hashtag strap season.
Oh my God. RBO.
RBO Intercontinental Belt strap season, baby.
I seen a belt on offer actually in Algeria last night. It was like a Royal Boxing Organisation World Lightweight title or some bullshit. Honestly, it was dire. I've got one for Darren Goff, TalkSport, saying that Deontay Wilder's offer of $50 million to Anthony Joshua is too low. That is just Darren Goff, you know, the fucking cricketer, you know, talking about
he
boxing.
does that drive time with that casual Adrian Dunn. That's just ear clickbait, that is.
That is, mate. I need to play this one air the speakers, because it's the day where Ozzy will remember this one. Actually, it was a tweet you got sent out there a couple of days ago for at Mohaj Fudilat, right? And he's just basically he's kind of made a kind of animation of Wilder, Fury, Hearn, Joshua, and White. So here it goes. It's absolutely brilliant. Listen to it.
If that's the case, I'll take 50 million up front. You know, with your man Eddie, tell them to check their email. I got something special for you. I got an email from Deontay Wilder. And it's on, baby! It's on! We're going all out! And on. You got $2 million to fight Dominic Brazil. You got $5 million to fight Dillian White. Let's go! Or you got $12.5 million to fight Anthony Joshua. Bomb Squad! What's up, my nuts?
I heard you screaming "Bomb Squad" when you walked in.
Well, that was my fans. You know, by the way, all the money's in the bag. Big drama show. Give me my money and stacks and lace my bitches with John fingers. Real niggas fingers on nickel plated non-triggers. Must see my enemies defeated. That's why they coked up and weeded open fire now.
I thought
there's great little cartoons as well.
It was Ozzy will back me up on this one, as you will do as well, Steve. It was like it was the best meme I've seen this week. It was absolutely
he's
glorious.
Good, him, isn't he, Ozzy, that guy?
Oh, absolutely superb. I was pissing myself for that. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I'll try and put it out on my on Twitter or something like that.
I've just retweeted it there as well, so get tweeting it. It's brilliant.
Oh, it is absolutely superb. It's really funny. So yeah, definitely watch that if you can.
We know what the boys might be going for. I've just got a couple more before we close out. Nomination for Hot Stig, the Twitter King. We played him at the top of the show for saying that Fury could deal with everything that the very capable Muhammad Ali would be able to put forward. Michael McElwee has nominated Scott Hanna. Mark McFarlane was talking about his top 10 pound for pound. Bit of a wind-up. I think he was a bit hungover. Mr. Hanna took it too seriously, started getting all nationalistic, talking about St. Patrick and all this type of bullshit. No interest in any of that. Donnie's dropped off the call. Belly of the week to him for bailing out. I think that's all the ones I've got, actually. Anybody else got any to add in?
Oh, yeah.
Go on, Robert.
As this is the week of Eduardo. No shots, Andy. Eduardo Hearn again. He was asked about Charlo for Brooke when he was over in the States. And he said he had the cheek to fucking turn around and say, yeah, but the thing about Charlo is he has no profile. He can walk down the street and nobody know who he is. I said, what? He just said that about Deontay Wilder 2 weeks ago. And now we find out he's one of the biggest stars over there. And Charlo definitely doesn't have a low profile when it comes to boxing. He's definitely being pushed. Like, just because they might not know him in Sheffield or whatever, that doesn't mean he has no profile. Like, and it's just the same shit that he says every time to try and get his fighters to avoid. First of all, you want to have the best fight the best. That's all he says in his interviews. You want to have the best fight the best. You want to have the best fight the best. Well, what the fuck do you not want to fight Charlo for? Because he's one of the best in the division, asshole. So, yeah, Eddie Hearn this week.
It's unbelievable, because after Brooke beat Rabchenko, they're all saying that he's the greatest, or he's the best 154 fighter on the planet. But then you've got Lara, you've got fucking Heard. I mean, can you imagine what Heard would do to Brooke? Oh, fucking dear shitballs. You got Charlo, they're going to go in there. And Hearn's talking about world title fights by the end of 2018. There's zero chance. Absolute fucking zero. He fights any of those top 3 guys. And I want to beat WBA and also for a nomination for fucking, the rematch for Lara against Hearn. Are you fucking kidding me? Jesus Christ.
Gabe, do you have any?
Aside from myself, for the
Magdaleno.
That Magdaleno would win by knockout, no.
Ozzy?
Team Dogboe, baby. Team Dogboe.
I think I'll nominate Eduardo purely for his stance on this offer, from where they received an offer of $50 million. He then moves the goalpost and then wants financial proof and a contract sending over despite not accepting any offer. Now, I can guarantee that every time Eddie Hearn sends a offer out, it isn't accompanied with a contract and financial proof. However, since his stance, I expect him to do that now. So for every purse bid or every bid he puts in, he needs to send over a P&L column along with a contract, an ironclad contract.
It's okay because he just says, we've got the money. We ought to believe him. That's what he said.
We do 90,000 at Wembley and all that sort of stuff. We've got the money. Aye.
We've got the money. Their money is imaginary, according to him, like, asshole.
It's honestly, the reaction has been unbelievable. I've never seen so many financial advisors, accountants this week.
Accountancy Twitter.
Yeah,
what did I say to Coogan last week? What did I say to Coogan last week about when it came down to the brass tacks and asked me the question? Would you agree that Eddie Hearn knows more about the financial side of putting fights on the end of it? Of course he does. He's a fucking accountant.
Yeah, he's an accountant. Yeah, exactly. And all these people, they've obviously looked at the books of Showtime, Al Heyman, Lou DiBella, Shelley Finkel. They've gone through the books. They've proven that they've not got the money, and that's why they're saying that. It's a case of put up or shut up, and it's a joke. Like, it doesn't. Why? I've never known somebody, and it's the biggest duck ever. His bluff got called. They sent an offer out, and now they're wanting all this proof as well. He's apparently going to counter offer it now.
So
he's basically So what's he going to do here? What is he? Bear in mind, he offered a take it or leave it, 12 million. And already he's drafting another offer now. The guy is a bullshitter. Utter bullshit.
Can I just say, you can also thank Al Heyman as well for showing that the boxing world he's actually got more pull, even though he's spent or spunked $500 million. I mean, he's managed to get Dominic Braswell into a title shot against Wilder, which basically fucks over Dillian White. It just shows you, by the way, you can talk about how, I can pay him more, talking about the Charlos, for example, I can pay him more, I can pay Wilder the best payday of his career, but I tell you what, you can't get your boy Dillian White a fucking mandatory title shot.
Yeah, and these fellas, don't say that, though, because you got these fellas in droves out defending Eddie. See, I don't really go that too mad on Twitter, but this week I said, like, why is Hearn trying to tell us that he wants Wilder next when he's doing deals with big baby Miller, like? So some guy gets on to me, he was like, give me the proof. So I sent him the link. It was a Radio Raheem video. And he was like, thanks. He didn't say he's giving him the fight. He said basically to tell him to keep winning. And in the future, the fight will be done. Simple business. And I was like, all right, cool, man. I don't get into arguments.
Don't get involved with them, Rob.
I'm not going to go back and forward with you on Twitter. Get out of my face. Like, so he was like, I just see Brazil is confirmed. Looks like Wilder was running scared all along, and it was just like, oh yeah, man, that's what I see. I definitely see that. Like
what I've noticed is the amount of fans, Matchroom. This guy, I'm sure he listens to the podcast. Greg Cross, his name is, right. He's constantly. I retweeted something last night, and he came. It was Chris Walker's email tweet. I retweeted it. This guy came back and he says to me, he says, Andy, your hate of Femi and Hearn knows no bounds. It was like, all it was like a comment is apparently about how Finkel should do business. That you have like all these butchers and fucking windy cleaners and that telling Finkel how to do a contract and that. And I'm getting told that I'm a hater for fucking retweeting it. I mean, fuck.
I know it's bizarre where like I can only kind of understand fellas getting all riled up about their favorite fighters. I can only kind of understand it, like, is they getting that invested with it. But when you get that emotionally invested in the fucking promoter and him,
exactly,
get invested in a good one like Don King or Bob Arum, some real son of a bitch. Like,
but as I keep saying is, why the fuck are you counting his pocket? He's not counting your pocket. He's not putting any cash in yours. He's taking money out of your pocket. So why the fuck are you counting his fucking pocket?
It's when it's convenient, though, isn't it? Because, I mean, it's like, you see it sometimes on Facebook over here. Like, a lot of the people, they say, oh, we hate Eddie, he's a scumbag, he's blah, blah, blah. And then whenever Burnett vacated the title and didn't want to fight Tete, smart business move. Oh, Eddie's been around the game a long time, like, he knows what he's doing. I'm just using that as an example. Like, people will just use it as a flag of convenience.
Absolute crazy.
Or any time that people applauded Frampton ducking Rigo.
I don't bring that up again. That's a sore point. Right, let's move on. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night. It's all right for you, Donnie. It's only about 2 o'clock in the afternoon there. We have to go to work, eh, boys?
Yeah.
Yeah, we tell him. Right, you going for Eddie Hearn, Rob?
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. I'm
torn, Ozzy, because I like the draft comment from QWERTY5 and I like Eddie, but I'm going for our Thief Daniel, man, the WRBO Intercontinental Champion. Strap season, Ozzy, who are you going for?
I'm with you. Yeah, the Dr. Hitman. He, I think he's a dentist by trade, isn't he? He got iced in his last fight, but he's gone on the road, a road warrior, and he's picked up that prestigious belt, which obviously he's a wanted man now. Every fighter is going to be after him.
Do you know what the best thing is, Ozzy? He's a dentist and he's sponsored by Sweet Tooth Brownies.
Hey, he's Dr. Hitman's in with the money team. You best watch out what you say there, or they might have the people coming round.
We all know he has a big tough test ahead of him when he gets the mandatory for the regular W or RBO belt. That's going to be real.
No, that's the thing, Rob. It's not even the rate. This is the Intercontinental.
That's what I'm saying. The next step up is the regular belt, man. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what the R stands for?
What?
Royal Boxing Organisation.
That's it, baby.
I've got a late nomination for Fat Apples on the YouTube chat. Actually, he's having a fanny bleed. He says, "I think this podcast could be a lot more popular with this a little chat interaction. It's good and in depth, but it misses something for me."
Thanks very much.
Cheers for that, Fat Apples.
Thanks, Fat Apples.
Listen, Fat Apples. If you've seen some of that shit that gets posted on that chat, sometimes like you can understand why we didn't want to interact with his.
Yeah, he then said that Wilder is the biggest duck ever. So, good man, Fat Apples.
Yeah, Fat Apples. You're still listening, aren't you, cunt? Right, Donnie, who are you going for?
Well, I was indisposed. I missed half the bill, so I'll proxy my vote to Andy.
Oh, good man. I'm voting Donnie for going for a shite during Bellew of the Week. No, I'm going to go for okay. I'm going to give Donnie's bet to Eddie Hearn. Vote to Eddie Hearn. I'm going to give my vote to the gentleman who made the video for the Wilder Hearn talks and stuff like that.
Donnie, any truth to the rumour that you're Fat Apples on the chat?
I am neither fat nor apples.
You looked a bit timberish the other day. I saw you, by the way.
Yeah, Donnie, you're sticking the weight on a bit.
I have put on about 15 pounds recently, so
fat cunt.
You're going to need that RBO Intercontinental belt to hold up your trousers soon if you're not careful.
Baby Trella.
Right, let's get out of here. I'm not quite sure who won, but I don't even care because I need the toilet and busting. We need to get out of here. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you to Rob. Thank you to Ozzy, to Andy, to Donnie as well for being such a good sport. Dave, the hater Lowback. We also had on Gabe, who's disappeared. Anybody else on? I don't think Smido was on tonight, was he? We had John Ryder. Thank you for joining us, John. Our second guest. Yeah, hey to Dave. Yeah, thanks to Hey to Dave. Our second guest didn't answer the phone. We'll hopefully try and get him on next week. Thanks to everybody in the chat as well. I'm only joking with you guys. We love you, really. The cesspit of humanity, as Andy once labelled it. Fat apples and all. We love you all. Thanks for listening. We'll tune in again next week, please. And don't forget to subscribe. I've been Steve Wellings. Thank you. Goodbye.